It's the return of the Arsenal show, ladies and gentlemen, with a very special guest. He's a guest, of course, but he's also a regular of the Arsenal show, if you guys have watched it in the past. But let's get into it, people. We'll talk about the Brighton win, Manchester United grabbing a draw, taking 2 points away from Liverpool. That sends us top of the Premier League, and the Bayern Munich game, of course, which is on Tuesday of the first leg. A huge one at the Emirates. We've got plenty of topics to talk about. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings as well, guys, in the chat. Get your thoughts in there, and let's begin the Arsenal show as it's back. Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend, as it is Sunday evening when we are doing this live stream. If you're watching this afterwards, welcome to yourself here too. I really do appreciate you tuning in to Tereak Talks and the return of the Arsenal show, the first Arsenal show of the season. We've done quite a few match reactions, Premier League previews, but we haven't been able to do the Arsenal show, which is where I like to bring on my panel, a good special panel that we like to talk about games with. We've gone through the highs and lows of Arsenal, and we've had plenty of highs this season with very little lows, but we've also had a bit of lows in there, but plenty of highs, and we are flying high at the moment. And I am joined by the man himself. If you were a regular of Tereak Talks, you would have seen him on the channel plenty of times on the Arsenal show and in the comment section, but life got busy, but it's not too busy for now, especially when we're here flying high. But I'm proud to present the special guest. And you know what? He's not a guest, really. He's a family member of the channel. You know how it happens in life, in families, where you have times where you may not see your cousins, your uncles, your grandpops in this case. I'm only joking. For a while, because life gets busy, but you're always family. And when we see each other, it's like we never left. And it's the man himself, the OG of Arsenal fans, Mr. Toxic Positivity himself, in Wilf. How are you doing, my man? Wilf, a.k.a. Trev, a.k.a. Creambone. You've got so many names.
I know. Love, peace, and hair grease, my people. It's been a minute. And I apologize. Life gets in the way, but I'm always a gooner. I'm always a Tereak. I will always be here for you, bro. And it's a pleasure to be back on. I'm so gassed to be back on, man. I missed you, bro. I miss you, little bro.
I missed you more, my man. I missed you more, big bro. You know what I mean? So sorry for the little digs about grandpops. I got too excited.
Hey. I take it. All day. I'm
but
good
black
with the
don't crack though,
man.
because look, it's been a while since I've seen you face to face. And you've not aged well. So tell the people, what's your skincare routine? What tips have you got?
Well, you know what I mean. I shouldn't really release it, but it's Tupperware and cling film, man. You know what I mean? Just wrapping cling film with some baby oil, seal the Tupperware lid at night, and then we're good to go. You know what I mean?
Adama Traore vibes. I like that. But I'm glad to have you back, my man.
Good yourself, man. Good yourself.
Hey, thank you. I'm still working on the summer body though, my man. I've gained a bit of weight since, but
cool.
Still got plenty of time for the summer and getting in there. So
I've dropped weight, man. I've dropped I've had a couple of stones.
I can see it in the face.
Yeah, since we last met.
Hey,
man.
Big up,
get
man.
back in shape, innit?
Exactly.
Get back in the fighting weight. Yeah.
And you know what, people? We don't want to. We like to have these intros where we talk about it, have a bit of jokes and banter. You know how it is. We haven't got the full team, of course, but we've got, big little bro and big bro here in the team.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really do appreciate it. And before we get into any topics, I just want to big up everyone that's here watching live in the chat right now. Don't forget, guys, smash that like button if you haven't done so already. Can we get it? Yeah, we can get it.
Yes.
And big up to yourself, Mr. 200, who's in the place.
Granddaddy Gooner. Love to the love, man.
Exactly. And him and T-Dog are watching whilst playing FIFA. We've got Casey in the building.
Nice. Yes, Casey.
Nice to see you in here, my brother Casey. I'm shouting for Bayern midweek. Who are you shouting for, Tereak? You already know who that is, my brother. Hey, I was cheering
Casey,
on your
we
guys.
Will find you. Much as we love you, we will find you. We will find you, yeah?
Exactly. We was cheering for you guys today, and I hope you did have a happy birthday to yourself as well, Casey. You turned 48 today. I hope you had a happy birthday. Man United didn't let you down for once this season.
No.
But I'm glad to see you in here, and nice to see you in here celebrating your birthday with the TTF themselves. Big up to yourself, Shay. So I do apologise, guys. There is a little bit of delay from when me and Will speak. So if that does happen and you do notice it, I do apologise. But it is what it is. He's here. That's the main thing. Shay, big up to yourself, Shay, in the building here. We've got Mr. and Mrs. Westbird. Hope you've been keeping well. Sending my love out to you, Mr. Westbird. The missus told us that you did have an operation recently. I'm hoping that you're and I'm glad to see you in here.
Yeah, and also, Mr. Westbird, big up on the good news. If you know, you know. But so gassed for the news that you got. So, you know what I mean? Bless up.
Hey. Big up Mr. W and Mr. and Mrs. W. Big up to yourself, Noel, in here as well. We've got Luke in the building. Says evening, Tereak and Luke. The man of many names. We've got a nice message for yourself as well here. Here, Will. Yes. I was struggling which name to call you. Then it's CBC.
I know.
I'm in the presence of Arsenal royalty. Good evening, Tereak and Wilf. T-Dog just said that's the man we see at the pub wearing the same shirt.
Believe I have to, you know what I mean? I have to, and I have to say to the Councillor Gary.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
You know what I mean?
Oldie Guan Kenobi, big up to yourself each and every time. Says T gonna turn that weight into muscle. Gonna be stronger than a Dharma child. I hope so.
You know it.
You'll see the progress, guys. You will. Big up to yourself, Oldie Guan Kenobi. Big up to the man himself. King is in the building.
Yes,
so big up
my
man.
king.
Then miss y'all. Big up to yourself. I miss you too, my brother. I would love to get you on here as well, my man. Big up to yourself. Love to see you in here. Big up to yourself as well, my bro William in here. Fellow Gooner says man like Tereak, you know, and everyone else that is watching afterwards. But let's get into it. We've done all the niceties. We've done the nice little intro. We've bigged up to yourself, guys. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so already. That's the second time I'll say that.
One sec, because it's been a while.
Yep.
Big up Ed McAvoy. Big up to the Spoff. And big up to my peoples that have tuned in. You know what I mean? Will Gibson, David, all them. Big up. Bless up.
Big up to everyone that's watching as well. So, guys, let's get into it. Will, Arsenal won. Manchester City won. Liverpool drew. That sent Arsenal top of the Premier League this weekend after a 3-0 win against Brighton. But I want to begin with your thoughts dating all the way back, which was probably about 24 hours ago, when the starting lineups was announced. What were your thoughts and feelings on the lineups? So we had in goal David Raya. We had the mainstays at the back in Benjamin White, William Saliba, Gabriel. Zinchenko kept his place in the team from that Luton game. However, However, that meant that from the starting 11 that we've seen in recent weeks, has that Kivior dropped to the bench, but Zinchenko came in. Then we had the midfield of Jorginho, Odegaard, and Rice being a bit further forward in there too. And then Gabriel Jesus on the left wing with Saka returning and Kai Havertz up top. What was your thoughts going into the game on that lineup?
Firstly, I thought we was talking biscuits. I didn't realise we were talking Arsenal. But now that you got it, hey, you know what? That lineup has made me feel like I feel for the rest of the season. Whatever Arteta wants to do, run with it, because the man has earned that to do that. You know what I mean? I suppose, to be honest, I wasn't that surprised that we did even more rotation with Zinchenko coming back, because we need to get legs in minutes in his legs, as we did with Partey the other day, and I just trusted what he was doing. I trust to use an old phrase, trust the process. Listen, we've learnt from last season, and we know how to manage games and manage the squad now. And it shows that it showed me that Arteta has more faith in the squad as opposed to the starting 11. So Kivior's been outstanding. I think from where he's come from to where he is now, he's been outstanding. But you needed to get Zinchenko's legs working, get minutes for him, because games coming up, he's going to be vital in those games. Man like Gabriel, same again. He needed minutes in his legs. So glad to see him come in. Glad to see Martinelli getting a bit of a rest. I think we're saving him for the Bayern game, but we're going to get onto that later. I didn't really expect much more changes than that. You know what I mean? Because there's certain men in there that have stepped up this season that we can rely on now, like Kai Havertz. You know what I mean? The guy's reborn. He's like Odegaard. When Odegaard comes, he seems to have found home. So I didn't have no worries about how we were going to manage this game. We were going to go out, be professional, do the business. And so there was nothing in the lineup that hurt me, made me screw, made me go, what is he doing? Because we've seen everybody in that starting 11 and other teams step up to the medal. Even players like Reece Nelson and even Eddie, when he come on doing a job, everybody seems in that squad to be ready to do a job for for Arsenal, not for themselves, not for the team, not to get into the first 11. And it's shown how much we've grown, to be perfectly honest, from last season, because we can have Jesus and Zinchenko as squad players. You know what I mean? They don't have to be, they're not guaranteed starters. I'm not saying they can't be guaranteed starters, but they come in, and what it does now with the amount of changes that we saw, you're seeing now that every man can, we're giving teams stuff to think about. We're no longer predictable. Like the Luton manager said, we've got a game plan for every game, for every team. We can play each and every way. So obviously when he's brought in Jesus and when he's brought in Zinchenko for Kivior, he's like, okay, these are the guys we need for this game. Their deficiencies is a hard word, but for want of a better word, their deficiencies weren't going to hurt us in this game. Whereas Man City, Liverpool's, and then them other big games there, we had to go with a different tact, with a different game plan to last season. We couldn't go blow for blow. With the Man City game, we couldn't go blow for blow for them. We would have got a bloody nose. We'd have got knocked out in the first round. End of story. The game management, it showed game management. That was the biggest thing about the changes that I saw and how many there were. It shows Arteta's learning as well as the team, and it showed good game and season management.
Absolutely, absolutely indeed. And you've hit the nail on the head with everything that you've said there. And I totally agree with it in terms of how Arsenal do set up in our starting lineups. Even during a game, we can mix up our tactics. We can be happy to sit in a mid block or in a low block. And we can even press you high. We can retain possession. We can play it short. We can play through a press. We can go long. We can mix it up in so many different ways. That's what makes
and we can take the pressure ourselves. We can
that's what I mean. Yeah, through the mid block and the low block, we can happily do that. Like we even saw it within this game. My thoughts on the lineup when I first saw it, I was a bit surprised to see Zinchenko in, just because I thought because he played in midweek that I thought that Arteta was going to go for a bit more, defensive stability, because we know with Zinchenko, it's not that he's a bad defender. I think that's definitely overblown, but in just those little moments of concentration, when he just tried to take a risk and he gives the ball away, Kivior, he takes a lot less risks, even though I don't necessarily think he's a much better defender than Zinchenko in that sense, but gives us that aerial ability. Tomiyasu's probably our best 1v1 defender in the squad. But when I saw Zinchenko start, I understood the fact that, okay, what Arteta wants is his personality on the ball, his bravery to take it in tight areas, to really try and overload their midfield, because Brighton are very good at using that midfield in their high press and in build up. If we able to break through that high press and break through those lines in the midfield, we can get running at their centre backs in the likes of Lewis Dunk and Van Hecke, who aren't the best running back the other way. They aren't fleet of foot, shall we say? Not athletes in the same way that we have in Saliba and Gabriel, and that's when Arsenal can really turn them. I'll talk about Zinchenko's performance a bit later, but then when I saw Gabriel Jesus on the left, that was also a little bit of a surprise, because I thought maybe he would start Trossard, given the fact that he's up against his old team. But when he did start Gabriel Jesus, I'm thinking, what does he want? What is Arteta bringing into this team? That's what I always try to think when he has a starting lineup, because us as fans, we can have our starting lineups and our thoughts and who we want to see play, but always try and see when that lineup comes out, what does the manager want? So Zinchenko personality, bravery in possession, and also that fluidity to break through the lines and create opportunities in transition and through the high press. With Jesus, he wants that work rate to work back defensively, which we saw against Manchester City. His due diligence there, you got to give him credit. No matter what your thoughts were in the Manchester City game, he was excellent at that. But also going forward, capable of the 1v1, capable of that sort of unknown, that unpredictability in the final third, won't just hang out on that left wing where Martinelli, when we've seen him play there, where I think it's mainly through instruction with Martinelli when he's out there, is to be a bit more and be a touchline winger, whereas with Jesus, when he plays, he does. If he's out on the touchline, he works his way inside and works his way into the box to use these sort of like striking instincts. So I really saw that, and Jesus is excellent at that, and I thought it was good against Manchester City. You know my thoughts on that, people. And then also with Bukayo Saka coming back into the team, yeah, we know his importance for us. Working with that right hand side, making sure we have that connection, because we simply don't have anyone else on that right there. But well, what I want to ask you now is,
I was going to ask you something on what you were saying. Do you think that was with the changes that he made, was Arteta seeing the frailties in the Brighton side? Because this isn't the Brighton side that was of last season. Mm-hmm. Do you think, because you talked about game management, you talked about the development of the side and seeing, what was what for what game?
Yeah.
Do you think that had a lot more to do with Arteta seeing the frailties that this Brighton side had compared to last season and going for them with the lineup?
Absolutely. It's a very good question you've asked there, because when you look at Jesus in particular, Tereak Lamptey, who's very good going forward, we know how quick he can be, a player that we've liked and a player that we've been interested in the past, but injuries has really hampered his development in that area. But we know with him, he likes to go forward. He's not the greatest defensively. in his concentration. He was a winger by trade when he was at Chelsea. In fact, he's more of a wing back in today's formations. But for someone being in a back four, we saw that Jesus 1v1 ability can beat him. And that's what happened with the penalty that led to the first goal. But also, Wilf, in terms of when we are working it on the right-hand side, Tereak Lamptey's 5'4". Gabriel Jesus is what? He's not the tallest himself, but he's 5'9", and he's also quite competent in the air. So that cross from the right-hand side, whether it's a dink from the back post, from Ben White, or an in-swinging cross that comes from Bukayo Saka, I think that was an area of weakness what Arteta saw, and we saw that happen quite a few times, working it from right to left and then getting those crosses in from the right. The crosses didn't necessarily work all the time, but that was the tactic that you could see Arteta was using. So yeah, I absolutely do agree with that. What about you, Wilf? Did you think that Arteta with Brighton, and maybe if you saw it throughout the game, you didn't quite know it before it, was there a key selection within that starting 11 that made you think that's why Arteta picked him?
Well, I'm like you. I think the Zinchenko Jesus one was the biggest indicator that he saw frailties in this Brighton side. Hence the reason why I asked the question, because I know you love your football and I know you're very knowledgeable about it. But that was what gave it to me, because Martinelli seemed ready to start because he came on against City. And you'd have thought with the Lamptey situation he would have gone for him, but he was looking for more control with Jesus than Martinelli gives, because Martinelli, and I don't want to do him a disservice, but he's more a head down, run out man than holdable control, whereas that's more a natural part of Jesus's game. So that's what made me think of that he was like, okay, like you said, Lamptey's great going forward, not as great. He's kind of like Zinchenko in that respect of his defensive attributes
instincts
are not as strong as his attacking instincts. Not saying he can't defend. Zinchenko can defend, but they're not at the level of a natural defender. And he knew that if he got Jesus isolated one-on-one with Lamptey, that trouble would cause, whether it's a goal or a goal opportunity, or, as like you said, the penalty came about. So that's what made me think in that respect of what he was doing.
Yeah. Before we get into the opening minutes, I want to hear your guys, because a lot of you got your opinions in there. Keep them coming in, guys. I really do appreciate it. Wes Bird says, in her opinion, that in her humble but accurate opinion, guys, this is what I've missed. I've missed this on the Arsenal.
I know. Tell me about it.
Zinni should be played in midfield. Me and King spoke about this the last time that King was on the channel, in fact, for the Newcastle game. I do think if we are to keep Zinchenko beyond this season, he will be moved as a midfielder. I think I understand why you say that, Wes Bird, because of his traits, the things that he's best at. In possession, he's press resistant. He's very good at breaking the lines. He's a good ball carrier too. We like to see him drop deep. He can pick the ball in there. He's also very good aerially too. So that's an underrated skill of his. He's got a real leap on him with Zinchenko. It's like he's got springs in his calves, but they're not made of titanium, because that's what his calves are always an injury that's letting him down. But yeah, I think maybe as he gets on a little bit, maybe because of the injuries, you don't necessarily want him 1v1 with wingers as his career, as he gets a little bit older. Zinchenko's not old, he's coming 27, but with those injuries, with his defensive frailties looking weaker than they were last season, I do think that he will be moved into midfield, where it's not going to be as demanding physically, up and down again. So many repeated sprints. It's definitely going to be demanding in midfield, because you still do run a lot, but it's not the same amount of sprints that you do as a fullback. So I do agree with that there. What about you, Will?
Can I ask you, do you actually think Zinchenko is going to be here next season? What percentage would you give it? What percentage would you give it? That's probably a better question.
Okay, I think it's more than. Okay, I'm going to say it's more than 50%. I'll say 60. I think it's going to be. There's the main reason being is because I think Arteta really does value Zinchenko's personality in the team. He really speaks about it a lot. And when people were getting onto the back of Zinchenko after the Liverpool game, away at Anfield, that one in particular, when Salah scored, Trent played the ball over his head. There was a lot of criticism from him on that day. I just think that, yeah, again, unfair. He should have done better in some occasions, but again, I think a lot of preconceived thoughts. When you think of the narratives, Zinchenko not great defensively, what happened at Anfield last season, but what he has into this team, his bravery in possession. He never hides. Zinchenko doesn't. He doesn't even let the fans. There was a few moans and groans in the Luton game, but he doesn't let that affect him and affect his game. I think Arteta really values that, and he spoke about it after the Liverpool game in the press conference. That even whilst it looked like in a moment that Liverpool they pounced upon him and they could smell blood, Zinny didn't give up, and he created a few turnovers and chances. Turnovers not for Liverpool, but for us in turn, transitioning us into forward areas and created chances for us there. So I think Zinchenko is important in that aspect for the team. Adds a bit of more experience too. I think a big reason why he brought him in as well, Wilf, he's one of the few players that we brought in that has won the Premier League. That has been at the top level.
That winners, mentality, the winners mentality.
Yeah, and I think he'll be happy being a squad player to a certain extent as well. Because
it wasn't C. It wasn't C. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and he's less so in this team. It's more down to his injuries.
Yeah.
But I think he's one of those players like Jesus. He's high risk, high reward kind of player. Whereas someone like Benjamin White is solid, consistent, low risk to be. I'm not saying that he doesn't create chances and stuff, create danger moments, but he's very low risk because he defends so well. He's a natural defender. Yeah. Whereas Zinny is high risk, high reward. So he's prepared to go with him losing the ball and keep it like he did with Raya when the whole Raya Ramsdale thing happened. Yeah. He's happy to do that because when it pays off, which is 70, 80, 90% of the time with Zinchenko, it means that we have more control of the game. So yeah,
exactly.
King, I will come for you. I will come for you, King. I swear to God.
If it's a game where Arteta thinks it's going to be important to retain possession and important for us to break through the lines, Zinchenko's made for those type of games. If it's going to be a bit more, want to shut up shop defensively, that's when you will be a lot more likely to see a Tomiyasu at left back or a Kivior in there, and in there too. So I understand that decision,
and especially with no Jorginho. Especially with no Jorginho there as well.
When Jorginho's not in there, but Jorginho, because there's been a thing that's been going around from within the Arsenal fan base. I don't like to see Zinchenko, Jorginho together because they think of them in the transition. They're not the most athletic of players, but they're very good in possession. And if Arsenal want to dominate teams, that's the type of players that you need in there. Bravery. Jorginho is excellent in ball progression too, as we saw yesterday. But just I want to hear your thoughts, guys, in the chat on the Zinchenko debate. I think Zinny's awareness and his off the ball is not good enough in an Arteta system. This is why he's never played midfield for us. Zinny gives us the extra man in midfield that is very important. So that's why King thinks he couldn't be there. He couldn't go into there. I'm just thinking as he maybe that awareness and that can come. I think his work off the ball. I don't think you can be in this Arteta team, King, if you're not very good on the ball. That's why we didn't see, Emile Smith Rowe. And when Emile Smith Rowe was playing, he was a lot in his Arsenal time when he was playing out on the left because Arteta didn't necessarily trust him. I think you're more correct in terms of the awareness part, King. I do hear you on that. Maybe that can develop with more games. But of course, Arteta's not going to be willing to take that risk now, given the position that we're in. But that's why I think for next season, it'll be something to be willing to work on.
I disagree with that slightly because I think Zinchenko's natural position is midfield. So to get to this level, he would have had the awareness. I think it's more to do with the complicated system that we play now.
Yeah,
because we know it's complicated because Rice and Havertz, it took ages to actually settle. Well, not ages, but it took them a couple of months. Rice less so, but Havertz more, because it's such an intricate, diverse, complicated system of knowing blindly where your man's going to be. It's a little bit more difficult for Cine to play his natural game, but I do think he has the awareness. It's just in this system, it's harder for him to be aware because it's not every midfielder can come in and play in this team. You know what I mean? There's a certain mentality, there's a certain level of intelligence, there's a certain level of game awareness, coaching awareness that you need to have to play in midfield for this team. Big example is Caicedo versus Rice. I think one of the reasons why we didn't go after Caicedo as hard is because they saw that he wasn't, I'm not saying he's not an intelligent footballer, but where he was in his career wasn't at the level that they needed to do. It would have done so much, he would have had to do so much more work with Caicedo to get him to the level than he would with Rice.
There was even thoughts that if Arsenal were to get Caicedo, would have been as that inverted fullback, but for the right side instead. So we'll hear King's thoughts on that as he's going to be joining us in here shortly. Hey, big up King.
Nice.
Mr. W says, I think Zinni will be here, but not as a regular. Timber still to come back next season, remember. Absolutely, Mr. W. That's what I'm thinking of his evolution into midfield. That's why I think that's what will be the case. And if he does remain here, which I do believe he will, because Timber will potentially have him at left back and then Tomiyasu at left back. And then we could also have Kivior as a third choice. I don't think we'll bring in a left back for this summer. I think that'll be the following summer when Zinchenko will probably leave them. What was you going to say, Wilf?
Well, I was also going to say one of the reasons why we haven't needed Zinchenko as much, or we haven't had to rely on him as much, like we haven't had to rely on Jesus or Partey as much this season, was the evolution of man like Ben White. Because if you look now, Ben White does the inverted thing from the right-hand side. Because, I mean, I think initially, and I was at the Nottingham Forest game where Timber got his injury, Timber was going to be starting to invert from the right-hand side, which throughout everybody's game plan, going into the new season, because everybody's like, right, so Arsenal invert from Zinchenko, so we're going to put a man on him, we're going to pressure him, we're going to go down that side. And what they did was actually switch it to the other side. And because if you look at it, even before Zinchenko got injured, we were starting to do that more. We started to do with Timber, we were starting to get Ben White up there to do that. And he's been doing that for quite a while now from the right-hand side, especially when Kivior's coming in on the left-hand side. So it switches things up. And I think we might have had this conversation right at the beginning of the season about how we could possibly invert from both sides at different times. So we've got an in-game management situation of, all right, so we've got Zinchenko on one side and we got Ben White or whoever it is on the other side. Teams won't know who's inverting at which time, and you can't really make that adjustment as quickly in game when it is something you haven't tried, you haven't worked out on the training pitch. You know what I mean? Most teams don't have that in-game intelligence on the pitch to do that.
That's why when we talk about our players that they're so special, because they're extremely versatile. They can play in so many different areas of the pitch. Seeing Ben White take that into his game, and I think many Arsenal fans thought that is something that he could do, but we've seen it during that period where with Kivior was playing left back a lot, that Ben White was taking it, as you mentioned, and Arteta did say, it was after, I can't remember which game it was, but in a press conference he said, not having Thomas Partey, not having Timber, not having the likes of Jesus and Zinchenko has lost our unpredictability. That's what Arteta wants. That's what he desires. I think you will still have an element in terms of his rotation towards this season, but I think he would have liked to have used the first part of the season where the games aren't so life or death and fine margins, where if we drop points now, it could be the end. I think we would have seen more experimentations with that to really figure out the best team. You know, like Kai Havertz in midfield, like he really worked that out. Yeah. We saw an improvement in Kai Havertz in midfield as the season went on, but now he's up front. It'll be interesting to see how many other games he will play in midfield from now to the end of the season. Who knows? He's got that ability. He's got the capability to do so. But just because I'm conscious of time and how I want to get through quite a few other things. So we've spoken about Zinchenko, we've spoken about the lineups. Wilf, I want to ask you now, what was your thoughts on that first half? Because in the opening minutes, Arsenal had 4 chances at different, variants of how likely we was to score, what you'd have expected. The first one, I think that was probably where we should have scored, with the biggest chance with Gabriel, that header in the box. He was a constant threat all evening with his aerial ability in the box from set pieces, but that was a huge one. Then followed up by Bukayo Saka, which was some brilliant work down the right with Jorginho, Declan Rice, Jorginho, Benjamin White, and Saka, where Saka cut inside and got the shot off. Followed that by Gabriel Jesus on the edge of the box, which I thought he did well enough with. He stung the palms of Bart Verbruggen. And then he had the second chance, Gabriel Jesus, with a dink cross, where he looked like he tried to head it back across for the runner at the back post, but instead it was kind of not a shot, not a cross. It just went past the post. What was your thoughts on the opening minutes of the game?
I mean, it was indicative of how because there was no panic. There was no, even before Christmas, before they went to Dubai, everybody stayed calm. Yes, we're making chances, so don't stress about missing them. It happens. We're going to do this. Whereas before Dubai, it would creep into our game. We'd take an extra touch. We tried to be too sure or whatever. And I think the belief shows the belief in this side that this side has in itself. I think the biggest glaring one, probably the Saka and the Jesus one. You'd expect them at their levels to hit the target. But I never doubted for a second, and especially the volume of chances and how quickly they came in that first half. I didn't expect that they were going to dry up. Sooner or later, they've taught us we're going to at least get 1 or 2 goals, if not more. And it would have been, if I was a Brighton fan or a Brighton player, big up my man, I would be worried because you're trying to go forward. You're at home. You're trying to take the game to your opponent, which you're supposed to do when you're playing at home. But they realized just how dangerous we were. So it puts in their mind, we can't go attacking as gung-ho, because you know what Brighton are like. They like to go at people. They did it with Liverpool. They've done it for a long time under De Zerbi. But I felt like the team felt relaxed, cool. The chances are going to come. We're gonna see out this game. We're gonna do what we need to do. The fact that the chances were coming so quick and early in the game, it was a chance to not let us get frustrated about missing those chances. If we'd gone through the first half without making hardly any chance, then I would have been more worried. But the fact that they were coming thick and fast, I mean, the first one was in the first couple of minutes with Gabriel.
Yeah.
Should have put that away, and by his standards and where he's been converting, it was a tough one. He should have hit the target, but it never really worried me. I'm seeing the closer we get, we're in squeaky bum time. The closer we get towards the end of the season, I'm weirdly feeling more relaxed because we've gone on this run, because we got the main big games out of the season and we've come out with the big points. I think it's given us confidence that we can handle anybody now, be it a Brighton, be it Man City, be it Man United kind of away from home. And if you look at our record, even since last season, our away form has actually been better than our home form for quite some time now.
Even last season defensively. Yeah, exactly.
This is what I'm saying. So, yeah, I was cool. I was cool with that. I didn't have any problems with that. I mean, a little frustrated as a fan that, you know, we weren't 1-0 up before the penalty. But as someone watching the game and sort of with my football head on, I was like, this is a good sign that we're making chances early.
Exactly. Yeah. I won't lie. You kind of felt like how Mrs. W was feeling. Not surprised, just need to settle. My sister was feeling like that too, Alicia, whilst was watching the game together. But I was a bit more like Mr. W. I was getting a bit nervous. I was like, and it's not because of no trust in this team, nothing like that. It's just because the emotions of a fan at this part of the season, squeaky bum time. I was thinking, no. Not one of these games where we're out here ruin our chances. We've been a much better team. What a start we've had away from home. We've experienced that at points this season. West Ham at home, of course, that's the one that springs to mind. Fulham at home at the very beginning of the season. But I was, just that emotions as a fan, I was feeling it. But as Mr. W did say here too, when we went ahead, though, we managed the game very well. And I do echo those thoughts because once we got that penalty, and for me, it was a penalty. I don't know, what was your thoughts? Is that a penalty for you?
100%.
Exactly.
Firstly, this is coming from me and Wes Bird. The both of you, strap on your big boy pants and let's go, all right? You know what I mean? It's big boy football.
Hey, it's hard, man. It's hard at this squeaky bum time part of the season. But yeah.
That was Stonewall penalty. It's Stonewall penalty. And the more I see it, the more it was a penalty. I mean, at first, I thought Lamptey got a little touch on it. But as I watched the replays, even if he did, which I don't believe he did.
I think he did, enough. But that's what
slight touch. Yeah, it wasn't enough. And he took the man out clean.
Exactly.
Because had he not touched Jesus would have taken that ball on and gone on and scored.
Touching the ball, touching the ball is not enough. You need to play the ball, take it out of. This is what I was saying at the time. Take it out of Jesus' possession, kick it out for a corner, regain possession yourself. At least change the direction of where the ball is going.
That's what I'm going to say. At least change the trajectory of the ball,
The ball was still going where it was meant to, just a little bit higher because he flicked it up rather than away. So for me, and then he still catches the man clean, full out, takes him out. So that's a penalty. And I was happy that the referee made that decision because we have seen referees away from home not necessarily give us that decision in
thank you
so that was the thing that's the game that I was thinking.
There's so many and that was the thing I was going to ask you, because do you think that what we've done this one of the biggest changes, forget players and on field and possession without the ball, was we've taken the decisions out of the refs' hands. Because last season we got stung by so many bad VARs, bad refereeing decisions, and all the rest of it. One of the biggest changes throughout the season is just taking the whole situation, which a lot of fans were calling for, out of the referee's hands. So it doesn't matter if we have a bad VAR decision. We're going on to win this game. Put it out of sight before that actually happens, and that was one of those occasions.
Absolutely indeed. Big up to my brother King, who's here in the building, hoping the audio and everything's all good. We've not got a picture at this moment in time.
Bless up, King.
It's
been a minute, bro.
Yo, what's up, my guys? Yeah, now I can hear you guys.
Hey, big up to King. The gang is back together. I'm all good, my man. How about yourself?
No, I'm good. I'm so happy to be back with the original front three.
You know it.
That's what we like to hear. It is the front three. Hey, we got different shades of melanin. That's what I like to say here, guys. I mean, we are the Saka, Martinelli, and Havertz. Shall we say now?
Yeah, really.
Jesus once upon a time. But big up to my brother King.
Good to see you, brother. Good to see you.
We got a couple of questions that I'd like to get in, and King, we can start it off with you as well, because we've seen your thoughts in the chat. Of course, we'll get your thoughts on the game as well, but just so we can tackle some of these questions that we've got here. I'll save the Zinni one until the end when we talk about the squad and those things. But so in terms of the game, Wesbird asked, did you not feel that he could have taken Rice off and not play the full 90 minutes and bring Partey on, bearing in mind we have Munich on Tuesday? So you can talk about Declan Rice's performance in the midfield and your thoughts on the game as well, King.
I think in terms with Declan Rice, I think he's very much like Granit Xhaka. So he's like a machine where he could basically play 90 minutes. Week in, week out. We've got a few of them. We've got Ben White, we used to have Xhaka, and now Rice, and Saliba, and I think Gabriel, where physically they're so strong and their body recovers so fast that they don't need 4 days or 5 days to rest to be fully in form. And also, I think it was just one of them games where we were in control, but also one goal from Brighton and the momentum of the game shifts. They're at home, you feel the pressure. And I just think that they didn't want to take that risk. Not that Partey is a bad player or anything like that. We know that Partey is top notch, but Partey still probably needs 3 or 4 games before he's fully back. We even saw that against Luton that he was quite rusty. He had a decent game, but he's still not back to the levels that we do know that Partey can play. So I understand that obviously as a fans we're concerned, we don't want injuries, we want to sub him off. But I think with certain players, it's just one of them. They're so good physically that they can just go on.
Absolutely agree with you right there. Do you got anything else to say on that, Wilf?
No, I mean, I can't argue with that at all. And I think what King was saying was right. Man like Rice is like last season, he can play every game. He's got that physicality, and I think he benefits from playing the full 90 minutes. Because you saw what game was it he got taken off for? It was a game he got taken off on recently. Was it City game? No, it wasn't a City game.
No,
it was a game. It was a game that he got taken off recently, and he really didn't like it. In his mind, he can play the 90 minutes. And if he can, there's certain players that have to be on that field because of their leadership, because if anything changes, they change the game back in our favour, like as King alluded to.
He got his rest as well, didn't he, against Luton?
Yeah.
He didn't start the game. So, he's someone that plays 90 minutes all the time. And if he's coming off, you worry a little bit because you're like against Spurs when he came up with that little back problem. So, he's very good at that. I wanted to ask you now, so we spoke a little bit about the first half where I will say as well that Brighton, I think probably for a 10-minute period, was it before the goal? Yeah, it was a little bit nervy. Brighton had a bit of possession. We weren't quite working our way through into progressing it cleanly in the final third. We was giving it away, but that's again credit to Brighton's midfield. I thought Baleba, what a player he is, by the way, one for the future. very young. I think he's like 20 years old. But whenever I've seen him, I've been impressed. I've seen him twice against Liverpool and now against Arsenal. I thought he was brilliant in that midfield. Like, he got past Rice and he gave him a little bit of burst in that midfield, which you don't really see often because Rice is probably the best midfielder in the league out of possession for sure. But Brighton, we're going to have their moments. They're a very good team. That's why we shouldn't take this game as lightly in terms of, just brush them aside. We're expected to beat them, of course, but 3-0. And then we talk about the second half performance as well, because the second half, once we grabbed that second goal, it was so intriguing to see how we were just able to say, you know what? We'll sit in our mid-block, guys. You try and break us down and we'll hit you on the counter. That's the thing I really love about this Arsenal team this season, is that we're able to, any occasion, any game you want to throw at us, we're able to take it. The only game I would say that, even the games that we've lost, like I was impressed in terms of defensively, how it was against Newcastle. We wasn't creating much, and me and King we've spoken about that as well. I think that's more to do with fatigue with our attackers at that point in the season. I was impressed with us in that sense. Aston Villa created plenty of chances away from home in that one, and that was a defeat. The only games I'd say is a 2-2 draw against Chelsea, where we didn't start the game off well enough and didn't recognise what type of game it was going to be that was going to be involved in, and the Fulham one. Fulham, the Fulham games. Can
we not talk about that, man? Give me PTSD, man.
I know, exactly. But in this one, outstanding. What was we'll go with you, King, and then Wilf. What was your thoughts on that first and the second half performance in particular? Kai Havertz with the goal, Jorginho with a nice little overlap.
No, first of all, I just want to say I'm so proud of how much this team has grown. I remember one of the first things Arteta said when he joined us was the fact that it was so easy for teams to just attack us in transition. They didn't have to do anything special. They could just run through us. And it was such a big problem, whereas now we are the best team to defend in transition. We're the best team off the ball. We have the best structure. And it's crazy. It's almost like we are watching like a modern day Mourinho in defense, but a modern day Pep in attack. It's a testament to how good this team is, and the fact that we are not an emotional team anymore, where we can sit and we can glide through a 2-0 and we'll be like, come and hit us. Show us what you can do. And then we can just counter against teams. And I think at the end of the season, where players like Martinelli will be fully fit, players like Saka will be fully fit, I think we'll be even more dangerous in transition. And I think we're going to see more games where teams will try and attack us, and we'll just hit them in the counter, because Rice is so good, Gabriel is so good, Saliba is so good, Ben White is so good. I think for me, like, Gabriel is up there for player of the season. I know that Rice get a lot of flowers, Saliba get a lot of flowers, White get a lot. But for me, I can't remember Gabriel having a bad game throughout the full season. He's been immense for us. The growth,
one of our leaders, one of our biggest leaders,
and now he's not. You remember he used to be quite rash before and very risky. Now he's grown out of that. Now he's become like a man. He's not a boy anymore. And it's just lovely to see how he's just ignored the critics and just keep on improving. Whereas now it's like, dang, it's almost faultless.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. And echo every single word you said right there. It's amazing, this squad of players that we've got right now, and especially the ones that remain available all the time. Gabriel, Ben White. Again, for me, player of the season for us is Gabriel, because of the level that he's been at consistently, very closely followed by Rice. Then in there is Ben White too. The only thing that I'd say what probably separates Ben White from, Gabriel, is that Ben White had a little bit of a patch at the beginning of the season when Tomiyasu came in and Tomiyasu took his place. I think he was struggling with an injury then. And we was talking about that again, that Newcastle game when me and King were speaking about it then. We could clearly see that Ben White wasn't at his physical peak, nowhere near it. He's not at his physical peak now, but you can see he's managed his body so well into getting to this point where he's still performing week in, week out. But ever since he came back in for Tomiyasu, he's been faultless. Ben White, outstanding. Wilf, what about you? Any standouts for you? Any that we haven't mentioned from that second half?
You've kind of alluded to it, but I think the biggest change for us this season, when you talk about Gabriel, is the ones that are unsung. Your Ben Whites, your Gabriels, your Jorginhos, Trossards, all them kind of man there, because they've stepped up. And the others that were doing it for us last season, your Sakas, your Martinellis, even Salibas and stuff, have looked more human because they've been targeted this season a little bit more, because that teams were looking at us and going, well, right, if we stop Saka and Martinelli, then they're done. If we try and go after Gabriel, they're done. But he's been immense. I would find it very hard push to find a better centre back better centre back than him in European football. And I would say not only do we have the best centre back pairing in the Premier League, and we have done for the last couple of seasons, in my opinion, but obviously I'm biased, but I think we've got one of the best, the best centre back pairing in Europe and dare say the world, because you look at how they handled one of the best strikers in the world on form over the last 2-3 seasons. Him and Mbappe, I'm talking about Haaland here, have been the outstanding players. But in 3 games this season, he's what did Roy Keane call him? A League 2 striker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Call him a League 2 striker. And who made him look like that? Our centre back pairing. You know, King said it. Gabriel's been controlled. He's been aggressive when he needs to be, but not boiling over. Same with Ben White. Even though Jorginho didn't play in this game, but man, those kind of men, like the ones I told you about, Trossard, come in, do your job. You're going to sit on the bench next game, and he was another one that he's someone I'd like to point out for this Brighton game, because that would have been a very hard game for him. It's the club where he made his name.
Yeah,
it's the club that gave him his chance. He got his big move to Arsenal. They booed him when he came back, and a lot of players would have shut down and gone into their shell with that reaction. What did he do? He played a great game, ended up scoring a goal, did what he needed to do. End of story. You know what I mean? And he's one of those ones that I have to say. I mean, he didn't have a huge part to play in this game, but he's been one of the ones.
He was very good off the bench.
Yeah.
Even out of possession, Wolf, like he was excellent in winning the ball back for the goal, and then just being that direct winger. And he's done that quite a few times off the bench as well for us this season. I wanted to ask you as well, King. You can put your thoughts on Trossard there if you've got anything to add. But the goal scorer, the man of the match that was given by Sky Sports, Kai Havertz. We've spoken about this man plenty of times, and do you know what I find so funny? Because again, I'm referring to the Newcastle game again, because me and King said that game was the best game he played for Arsenal, and that wasn't even, like, let's be honest, it wasn't even half as good what we're experiencing now, because there was no end product at that point. There was that desire, there was that aggression, there was that, you know, that surprise element of surprise where, he's lanky, but he's quite but he's like tall and skinny, but he's quite strong. Very good in his duels. He moves quite languid, but he's very fast. He's got a nice bit of sharp acceleration. He in one moment you can think he's clumsy, but he's very good in tight spaces. King, Kai Havertz, 60 million down the drain.
100%, 100%. Let me say this, yeah. I think Kai Havertz is a better centre forward than Højlund and Darwin Nunes. Honestly,
Højlund
and
who?
And
I
Nunes.
think Nunes and Højlund. I think Havertz is above them, and the reason why I think he's above them is because I think he's more mature than both of them.
Yeah.
I think off the ball, he's a bigger problem than both of them, and I think his runs and movement, he's so smart, and the way he helps us in the press and winning the ball back is clear of both of them. And you can see now why we bought him. You can see now why Arteta wanted to start him in midfield for him to grow, get his confidence, get more comfortable with the ball. And then when the confidence is there, moving up to the attack, where he now makes the right decisions on the ball, because that was what was missing. When we bought him, I thought we were going to get an on the ball great player, but off the ball maybe meaty. But instead, we got a player who off the ball was class and on the ball he was quite needy. But it comes with confidence, and you know the environment at Chelsea. We can all see everyone is struggled there. We can see Caicedo last season versus Caicedo this season. We can see Sterling at City versus Sterling at Chelsea. You know, you can see Cucurella at Brighton versus Cucurella at Chelsea, and we can go on and on with that list. That environment, the toxicity, the uncertainty, the change of management, tactics, style of play, lack of structure. Players are humans, and Havertz needed a home. He needed a coach that believed in him, and he's gotten that with Arsenal and with Mikel. And we can see now the Havertz that we saw by Leverkusen, who was one of the most talented attacking players in Europe, who everyone wants to buy. And don't forget, even this summer, you know, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, they wanted to buy him, but we got him. And we can see now why they wanted to buy him. And we can see how flexible he is. And he's only going to get better. I think people forget he's just 24 as well. He's not 28, 29, where he's already in his peak or reached his peak. He's still going to become better and better. And it's such a pleasure to see how, you know, one of the things that I love with Havertz is that he's a bastard, you know, and I love that because he
I
looks
was
like
just
a
gonna
nice
say,
boy, you know. He
yeah,
looks in his facial expression, you know, and his demeanor. He looks like someone who's nice and calm, but in reality, you know, he's a naughty bastard, and the refs hasn't caught up with that yet. And he just loves to see.
I think
I was
they
gonna
have
say
because
to
he's
you,
got
he's got
eight yellow cards. I'm glad which he
Yeah.
escaped suspension. He escaped
Eight
it now
penalty,
because he got
yeah,
brought off.
yeah.
But and Wilf, I know you're itching to get in on the Havertz talk. I want to I'll give you thoughts, of course, that you want to say, but I also want to ask you this question, and then King, you can also respond back with this as well.
Yeah.
Is striker his best position from now? And would you play him in midfield, or would you just keep him as a striker?
Under Arteta, yes. Under Arteta, that is his best position. And this is something that the King touched on briefly. Props has to go to Arteta for spotting players and spotting where best to play them. Even they might not know. I think that was always a problem with Havertz, and you're seeing now. It happened with Xhaka last season. It happened with Zinchenko and stuff. He spots their ability and where to best utilize it. And I think that false nine playing in the Arteta system is Havertz's best role, and he's thriving there and all the rest of it. I was going to agree with his SH housery. I love it. I love it. I'd hate it if he was. He's one of them players that if he was like Suarez. If Suarez is on your team, you love him, but if he's against you, you hate him. And Havertz is cultivating that. And King was spot on with the confusion that was the beginning and the end for Chelsea. He wasn't happy there. He needs to be in a settled, comfortable, well-managed system, which is Arsenal now. And I think he has learnt his game at Arsenal because he was great at Leverkusen. But he's learned to develop and learned to become a better player.
Absolutely.
Under Arteta's tutelage. So that because that was always there, but he didn't know where his best position was. He didn't know what was best to do. He needed the guidance. He needed a coach that was going to go, Kai, I want you to run here. When the ball is here, I want you to run here. When the ball is going over there, I want you to be pretending to go there, but you're going to come back and you're going to go here, which he never had at Chelsea because they had managers that wanted the finished article. They weren't coaches. They were managers first and foremost, whereas Arteta is a coach manager. And we forget how many people, players, when he was that came out of City, that says it wasn't Pep that made my game better. It was Arteta. You know, you had your Sterlings, you had Leroy Sané, you had all them kind of man there saying the man that actually improved my game was Arteta. He did it with Jorginho. What did we say? Because you two convinced me about Jorginho the day we signed him. I was like, nah, I don't want him. But both of you taught me. And I went, okay, look, you know what? I'm willing to hold my hands up and go, yeah. It shows the talent of our manager to spot talent and where best to utilize him. Because don't get me wrong, Havertz can do a job in midfield because he has done and he could do. And the confidence and he gives players the time to learn their role. He did with Rice. Obviously, Rice moved a little quicker than Havertz, and also Havertz had the burden of coming from Chelsea, and everybody hated him, and everybody this, and he's going to be crap, and he's going to be. Hence, he got the song and a waste of money and whatever. But this team has learned to drown out the noise outside of the room. They only listen to the voices. They only listen to the voices in the room. You know what I mean? And Havertz is a prime example of that. You know that Arteta and whoever else put their arm around him and said, I don't care what anybody else says, you hear anybody else outside of this club say. We know, we believe in you. We know what you're capable of. You don't even know it. And we're gonna show you. Look at Jorginho. When he come, Jorginho was a long time favorite of Arteta's. Happy to come here because he's finally going, this coach knows what to do with me. And you're seeing the benefits now. And you know what? I'm tempted to put money on Havertz scoring the goal that wins us the Champions League if we get there, or the goal that wins or the goal that wins us the title.
Scored big goals. He has scored big goals, whether it's being midfield or up top. King, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can see why he would say that because obviously he's done it in the past. And, you know, since January, I think he's the player with the most goal involvements in the whole of Premier League. So obviously he's in form also. And he got that temperament, you know, where now he's hungry to be the difference maker. And it's nice to see because we got so many different weapons. And I think that's why it's so hard to play against us because we can put in a cross to Havertz, we can cut it back. We got Odegaard, we got Saka, we got Jesus, we got Martinelli, but we also got the set pieces with Rice on them, and we got Gabriel, and we got Saliba. You know, we got so many different elements to score. So it's so hard to predict what we're gonna do and when we're gonna do it in games. And this is something that Arteta talked about even from last season, but we didn't master it last season, where he wanted us to be ruthless. He wanted us to become a team that can score 100 goals in the league. And I think that's the next stage. I think from next season, the aim will be we have to score 100 goals. And I believe he will do it, and I believe Havertz will have a big part in that as well. And I think his relationship with Raya will also be something that will grow. I think Raya is something or someone who a lot of people were criticizing Arteta with and saying stuff like it was an unnecessary risk, it's not an upgrade, it's not better, he shouldn't be our number one keeper, it was a waste of money and all of that. But I think when we put aside how much we love and adore Aaron Ramsdale as a personality and as a quality keeper, we can also see why Raya is someone Arsenal wanted to buy ever since Arteta joined us. And we can see how calm and mature he is. We can see how good he is in the air to claim crosses. And we can see how calm he is on the ball. And the thing is, when you have a calm goalkeeper, it spreads to the players. So remember when Gabriel used to be very rash, Sinchenko used to be very rash. We don't see that anymore because they don't have to stress because they know at the back they got someone who's calm. Whereas with Aaron, and this is no critic, he's very much the passion merchant, live up, live up to the crowd, get emotional. And it's good for Aaron, but it's not good for the style of play we want to play
Mm.
because Arteta
I don't
wants
want to
us
keep it doing
to be
that.
patient. So I love Aaron, and I think that sooner or later he will have to find another club where he would be number one.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
a really
just
good
want to
point.
give Raya his flowers where it wasn't
Yeah.
easy for him because he came in to a team where we had already fallen in love with another player. And he started and it was a new system, big club. A lot of fans weren't really feeling him. And he was a bit shaky in the beginning. But look, just look at that Porto game, for example. Like,
I think the
he's
reason
amazing.
why I think the reason why he was shaky is because this season every the North London derby, the game against Man City, the game against Liverpool, they were all the biggest games of his life. Yeah, so he's going to look shaky. He's come to a massive club. With all due respect to Brentford, he's come to a massive club. He's coming as a number one because you had that with Ramsdale when he came in. You know what I mean? He was like, oh, this is a big club now. It's a huge step up. And I can't. He saw the levels that he was coming into, and it's going to get to you. It's gonna get to you. And I will always love Aaron Ramsdale, and I actually think he's the better keeper, as in traditional keeper. But Arteta was always aiming to have a team that gave up so few chances. It didn't matter that your goalkeeper was an amazing shot stopper, because that wasn't going to be his most important role, because he was going to have to face so few chances, which the statistics show he doesn't, and props to him. And I think what Luke's alluding to there, I think the reason why Aaron's so erratic now is because when he comes in, he knows he's got a big challenge. He will rise to it, and I think he's going to be an outstanding keeper, eventually England's number one, and all the rest of it. But it shows the bigger game plan that Arteta has had for this whole team, and it shows that man like Partey, man like Zinchenko, man like Jesus, who were standout first team names on the sheet, there are none in this team. We can outgrow anyone, be it Saka, be it Odegaard, be it, and it's I'm not saying this now, but he's going to the level where I don't really care how good you are. If I find someone better, I'm bringing them in. Or if I find someone that suits my system better, I'm bringing them in. And again, forget the noise outside the room. And that is, I think Raya qualifies that in its most stereotypical with Arteta. It's like, I trust him. I know what he's doing. He's got the qualities that I need. He's good enough a shot stopper that if he ain't facing like 10, 15, 20 shots a game, he will bail us out.
And do you know what? You're absolutely right. He is his ideal keeper in terms of what he wants to do. When King actually brought this up to me, when you said about the shot stopping, I used to think like you, Wilf. I used to think like Ramsdale's the better shot stopper because we think of the games like Liverpool away, Tottenham away in his first season when he was brilliant when we did face
Leicester.
a lot more shots than our goal. Leicester away. We've got moments like that we definitely remember. Tottenham at home even. But statistically, Raya is actually quite considerably better. Like Raya's only below Alisson in his Premier League career. He had a bit of a dip this season in his figures. King brought me these statistics when we was actually signing him because I was like, okay, Raya's better with his ball at his feet. He's better at distributing the ball longer, which I thought, that's what he was looking to do with Havertz anyway. But Raya's actually a brilliant shot stopper. We haven't quite seen it, though, as of yet. That's why I think a lot of fans do agree with you in that way of thinking, because Arsenal don't face a lot of shots. And I think Raya is an important reason for that. With his possession at the back, he doesn't turn it over. He goes. This is the main reason why I think that he's brought in Raya.
He looks like an outfield player.
Out exactly. Ramsdale is very good with the ball at his feet. That's not the issue. The issue is that he doesn't always show that confidence with the ball at his feet. He doesn't show confidence going higher up the pitch when he's got to leave his box. I'm not even talking about the mistakes like against Brentford. Forget that, because we've seen him too many occasions. I think Brighton away at home, actually, the 3-0 defeat, he was angry at Ramsdale because he kept going long in that game. And he wanted, I want you to play short in this scenario. Don't have the bravery, because Arteta believes in him. Arteta says, you've got the ability. I wouldn't have bought you otherwise. It's just that you don't quite have that. And the one thing that always springs to mind was exactly, Will, because the one thing that springs to mind was in an interview, he spoke about how I had to compromise with Arteta in my positioning. I had to come make a deal with Arteta and how high I wanted to be, because I didn't feel comfortable starting as high up out of my goal. Whereas with Raya, no problem. Even if I make a mistake, no problem. He's got that more of a. It's a little bit of difference within their. Again, a little bit within their mentality. I'm not saying that he's, was
you saw it in this game,
goalkeeper, but you see it like.
Did you see that TNT interview with Raya after the Champions League? And when I listened to that interview, that's when I knew that this is the mentality the coaches.
He believes that he should be there. He believes it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it in this game.
But also, what we have to remember is that Raya, I think, is 4 years older than Ramsdale.
Yeah.
So he's obviously more experienced, and they have had quite a similar journey for where they started at very low football. And it's just that Raya now, he just have that confidence. He got the aura now where he believes that he is the number one, and he believes that he's good enough. And if Arteta wants him to be 40 yards outside of the goal, he will be 40 yards outside of the goal. Whereas with Ramsdale, will be like, okay, but I'll go 30 yards instead. And if you look at our defensive line, it is now higher up than it was last
I was going to
season.
say that.
And because it's higher up now, we can put more pressure on team and put them into their box and make them uncomfortable. And that was always the plan. And obviously, one of the reasons why we also got rid of Martinez was that Martinez wasn't listening to Arteta's instruction. It wasn't that he wasn't a good goalkeeper or wasn't making saves or couldn't play out from the back. He didn't listen to instruction. You could see many times in games where Arteta would be so angry at Martinez, and it was almost like, they were mates and their family mates and their wives were friends. It was almost like Martinez were looking at him as his friend, whereas, I'm your coach now. You have to listen to me. And in some interviews, Arteta's kind of alluded to how hard it is sometimes for him, because the relationship and the dynamic changes between former players and him, and some can't accept it. But it's interesting, and football is ruthless. I mean, one of the things that will make you successful is to become ruthless, and that is something Pep's done every season with Man City. And I think the reason why Man City are struggling this season is because they got it wrong in the transfer window. I think they've got it wrong for 2 seasons now, and I think it's catching up with them. I think them getting rid of players like Laporte, Cancelo, Gundogan, Morris, Sterling, Jesus, and Zinchenko, I don't
Yeah,
think
those
they
are big
have
players.
replaced them
No.
with better players, except with maybe you can look at Haaland, yeah. But a lot of the players that Man City have bought have only been on a similar level or below, whereas teams like Arsenal have started to recruit it better, catching up on them. Teams like Tottenham
Absolutely.
have started to recruit better, catching up on them, and even Liverpool so. And I think testament again to the club for believing in their philosophy, having the patience to do it at the level that they thought was best, and ignoring the noise from us fans, being emotional, being angry. They saw the bigger picture. You remember when we finished fifth and they gave Arteta that contract even before
Yeah,
we
people
secured top
people
four because
scream.
they have
People
already
When we
scream.
was
seen.
on 3 games in a loss,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
And to be
because
honest,
they have
that was when
already
I
seen the
wavered.
beginning. Yeah, because they saw something that's bigger. And I know, like, sometimes a lot of United fans is like, oh, look at Arteta. Why can't we do the same thing with Ten Hag? But Arteta doesn't compromise. So if
exactly.
Arteta was in a similar position, McTominay wouldn't be there. Maguire wouldn't be there.
No,
He would rather buy out their contracts and get rid of them
yeah,
than to compromise to his philosophy and what he believes is right. And I think that's why Ten
Even
Hag
with the highest
eventually.
earners.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even with the Aubameyangs, even with your Ozils, and one thing just to show how clever Arteta is. You remember when Aubameyang lost the captaincy?
Yeah.
yeah,
Odegaard was the captain, but to make sure that there was stability in the dressing room and not lose, he gave it to Lacazette. So all these players who were close to Aubameyang is obviously also close to Lacazette. And now Lacazette is the captain, so Lacazette isn't going to go against him. So those players are not going to go against him.
Yeah.
And this just shows how he thinks of everything. Whereas with other coaches like Pochettino, like Ten Hag, the reason why they're struggling is they're not ready to die on their philosophy, on what they
yeah,
believe. And once you start compromising, players lose respect to you,
And lose
and then you
belief.
can't get the
yeah.
maximum.
Well,
Absolutely.
one of the best examples is the Ten Hag because they both come from a similar background. They both coached under Pep.
Yeah,
They both had a style of football that they were brought into the club to play, to
yeah,
develop in the club. Whereas Arteta, like King said, was uncompromising. This is the way I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm sticking to it through thick and thin. Even when we've lost
Results
3
will
games in a
change.
row, results will change. Whereas Ten Hag came out and said, I can't play my kind of football here. I don't have the players. It's not going to happen. I'm never going to do it here. Rather than going to the board, do you believe in me? Yes or no? And if you do, then get rid of X Martial, get rid of this person, that person, and whatever,
Yeah.
and trust me.
Do you know what's crazy, Will? Because that's so bang on. Because anyone who watched the All or Nothing documentary, remember the Aubameyang situation? The board,
Yeah,
they were like, "No, I don't think this is the
yeah,
right decision. I don't think we should get rid of.
yeah.
I don't."
Even they do.
Edu,
yeah,
exactly. They were there saying,
Yeah.
"I think that we should
And garlic.
try and get them to
yeah,
exactly." Edu and Richard Garlic, Vin, I were all like, "Let's try. Is there a way that we can get him to compromise and let's
Yeah.
say let's make an apology and they can what? No, he
Yeah.
Mikel is too strong. Mikel's
he had a
he's
dossier,
adamant.
man. He had a dossier.
He's adamant, and he brought that dossier of all the things that Aubameyang did that
Yeah.
was ill discipline, and that's when they said, "Okay, he's too strong. We have to get rid of him." And look now, and I just wanted to add my point back onto the Ramsdale thing because it kind of links to terms of what we're saying about he's strong in his principles and whatnot. I just want to say, like, this will be the first player that we will sell that Arteta's brought in as well, of course.
Yeah,
But the first player
hurt me. Like Mr. Westbrook, it's gonna hurt to see him go.
exactly, because he's the first player that's gonna leave that hasn't been a failure. He's going to be the first player that's going to leave that's been a success in his period. It's just that we've got better and we've improved in those fine margins.
I'd say Tierney was, but yeah.
But Tierney's okay. Yeah. Again, I think mainly with Tierney, he failed not due to ability, it's due to fitness.
No, I think we've moved on from him because I don't think there's any player, like I said before, I don't think there's any player in this team, even the Sakas, even the Odegaards, even the Martinellis, that he's not afraid to move on past if they don't develop. And it's not saying that they can't develop or they're bad players or whatever, but if he doesn't see them developing in enough time, in the time frame that he needs, he will get rid of them and go, listen, bro, you've been an excellent servant for me, but trust me, your career lies somewhere else in another team. You will have an amazing career, but you will have it at another team.
Yeah.
And I think I think Tierney's a better example of that, because remember, everyone was saying about he's going to be a future England captain, future Arsenal captain, and blah blah, and all the rest of it. And within one season or one or two seasons, Zinchenko's come in, and the whole dynamic of what came out of that left back position totally changed. And Tierney, I'm not saying he in the future he's not able to do that, but he would not be able to do that in the time frame that we needed to go to make the progression that we have, because we have developed exponentially over the last since Arteta's got here. Remember, 2 8th place finishes, a 5th. Each season we've gotten better, gotten better. All our frailties have gone. You had another Premier League manager coming out and going, this team don't have no weaknesses. And in this
Neo is
it's the same with me as well. Yeah, his connection is going in and out. But my point was the first player that Arteta brought in. Arteta didn't bring in Tierney.
Yeah, he didn't bring in Tierney. Yeah, he brought in Ramsdale. And I agree. And it showed. Oh yeah, go on.
No. The biggest indicator of that is the games against Man City, where he's broken records, because Pep has had the fewest shots against the team when he played against us. Haaland got shackled. De Bruyne got shackled. All these men that are big team players that can pull it out, even Grealishes and whatever, had nothing to come at us with. And that is where he's learned and gone, right, this is the development. And once he's hit that level of development, he's going, right, I can take it to the next level now. I can take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And also, another thing is that, again, this sends out signals to other big players out there, like Arsenal, they're serious. Arteta is a serious manager. They're going to want to join this project. And you remember when Arteta, again, when he joined, where he said that he wants to build a club where if a player doesn't want to join us 100%, we ain't going for you. And we saw that, and we've seen it now in the transfer windows, where if we go for a player, if we really want you, we will go into the bid war like we did with Rice. But if there's an uncertainty, like with Mudryk or with Caicedo, it's not that we don't have the money. You have to 100% be committed to want to join us. And it's just a testament again to how far we've come as a club. Whereas before we were struggling to get 60 points, we're in the 50-point marks every season. Now we're close to the 90. We're already on 71 points, and we still got another 21 points to play for. So again, this team is just going upwards, and we will reach a point where you can only marginally improve on a player. We will reach them points where you can only marginally improve on Odegaard, because Odegaard is that good. And that's what happened with Ramsdale. You can only marginally improve on maybe a Saka or someone else in the team, whoever it is. And that's the thing. Like, when you want to become a massive institution that keeps on competing and winning each year, like a Man City, you will see fan favorites. You will see quality players have less important roles. But at the end of the day, we support the club. We always have to put the club first. And as long as the club is improving, I don't have a problem with whatever method we're going for because I know that we are in safe hands.
Absolutely. And the club have a huge night on Tuesday. Tuesday night, we face Bayern Munich. The first leg at the Emirates with a packed out crowd. All Arsenal fans, due to Bayern Munich's away fans, letting off fireworks against Lazio in their home stadium. So it's going to be all Arsenal fans. I wasn't fortunate enough to get a ticket for the ballot. I did apply. I've applied for Bournemouth, so let's hope I can get that one as well. That's a penultimate home game, the second to last home game of the season. But all attention's on Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich lost again on this weekend, 3-2. News coming out that Manuel Neuer and Leroy Sané are going to be fit, who missed the weekend's games. But Kingsley Coleman's going to be a fitness stout. Whatever your thoughts are on them, they're going to put out a strong team. Me and King have had a debate in messaging on Twitter. Well, not really a debate. It's more about, just having a conversation about the game on Twitter about this Bayern Munich team. But talk to me, Wilf, we'll start with you, about your thoughts coming into this game, how you're feeling, and how important this first leg is. So thoughts and feelings, how important this first leg is, and then finally, do you think we can win the Champions League this season?
All right. Feelings on the game?
Yeah.
Very confident. I know I'm toxically positive, but something just
got
feels
horror
right about us. Yeah, I know. It's the first leg is vitally important. If we take a 2-3 goal lead back to the Allianz Stadium, we're going through. And in a word, can we win the Champions League? Yes. I will. We will win the Champions League. I think you might still have my prediction from the beginning of the season because I actually put Man City to finish third. Yeah. I think we're going to do the double this season. I can see this team capable of doing it. I believe we can because of the momentum and the belief that they have. If and when we get through past Bayern Munich, I think there's no team that holds any fear for us. Because if we face Man City in the next round, we know we've beaten them twice this season. And a draw, that's over 3 games. If we play Real Madrid ain't the force that they usually are. To answer someone's question to answer Mr. Wedsworth's question, yeah, we can pocket Kane because he's not as powerful and he's not at the peak of his powers as Haaland is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from him. You know, we know what Kane is and we know what he's capable of. But this isn't the Bayern Munich that we faced of old. And we're not the Arsenal team that played them of old. We're a much better team that played any Bayern team in the Champions League before. And this is probably the worst Bayern Munich team that we would have faced in the Champions League since I can remember. I think this is a team that wants to go on and make history, and I believe they will this season.
Interesting.
Bear in mind, I said third for Man City. They're going to finish third.
King, what about yourself? And your thoughts and feelings on the game, the importance of the first leg, and overall thoughts on the Champions League. And you can also answer this question. I'll give you 4.
Well, I'm first of all, I'm really excited for this game. I think, regardless of what people think about Bayern Munich, they're still a massive institution. They're still traditionally one of the best and most, decorated clubs, especially in this tournament. And they have players in there who have done it, who've won it, and know how to do it. And in terms of individual quality, I still believe they got some wonderful players, like your Alphonso Davies, your Musiala, your Harry Kane's, your Sane's, Gnabry. But the thing with Bayern is that they don't have a team. They've got 11 individuals, but they don't have a team. And I think because we are such a unit as a team, the style doesn't suit them. My only kind of concern and worry with us is that I don't know if you noticed this, but in the second leg, in the home leg against
Mhm.
Porto, Saliba was so nervous in that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've
And in
never
the
seen him that
first,
nervous before. In the first, like, I've never seen him nervous before. He's usually, very calm, but he was so nervous in both of them games, and it's probably two of his worst games for us. Luckily, Gabriel and then Ben White and Rice are so good that Porter couldn't really exploit that. But I think if he can get his nerves together, which I think the coaching team, because they're so into detail, will sort it out. I think we will win the first leg, and I think if we win the first leg, we are through. Just because, as I said before, we can do the Mourinho thing. If we need to, we can park the bus. We can do the physicality. Remember when Mourinho had your Alex, your Carvalho, your John Terry, your John Obi Mikel, your Essence. We can do that. We can bring Rice. We can bring Partey. We can bring Kibio. We can bring Gabriel Saliba. We can do that. And I think because we can do that, and we still got individual quality in your Odegaards and your Sakas and your Jesus, we just need to win the first game. If we win the first game, I think it's game over for Bayern. I do hope we do slap them. I would really love to see like a 3 or 4 nil. A really, a testament win just to show the world that, hey, this isn't just Arsenal back. This is a new version of Arsenal, and you can't joke with it. And I think we will face Real Madrid in the semis.
yeah. So you
And
think
do
Man
you know the
U
reason
getting
why?
that? What's the reason?
Love
The
to see
real
it.
reason why. I think styles make fights, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
because Man City are so poor in transition and Real
Mm.
Madrid are so good in transition, I think players like Rodrigo's and your Vinicius and your Bellingham's in transition will hurt Man
Killers.
City. I think Man City will dominate the games in possession and play the better football. But I think because in defense, we saw again on Saturday, they conceded 2 goals. They could have conceded a penalty. They should have got a penalty. Man City's defense is not all of that. And I've
Hmm.
said that for a bit of time. I don't
Yeah.
think they have a title winning defense. That's one of the first things I said at the beginning of the season. And I say to that.
We
And I
were
think the
saying that.
reason if we win is because we have a title winning defense. I think in the end, that will be the difference. I think when they face, I think they'll drop points against Tottenham, Man City. I think Tottenham will draw
Well,
with
that's
them.
one of their
And I
bogey
think Real
sides.
Madrid,
That's one of their bogey
yeah,
sides, and they haven't.
yeah. I
And
wouldn't be
if you look
surprised
at,
if City wins the FA Cup, Liverpool wins the Europa League, and Arsenal do the double. Definitely.
Hey, we got Will and King talking about the double. Do you know how good life is at the moment? But I definitely agree
and
with what King is saying. Our
yeah,
biggest
100%.
stumbling block is how we respond to the occasion. It's not the ability. It's not how we play. It's in terms of
No.
styles make fights. Again, like with this Bayern Munich team, how I think the game is going to go is Bayern Munich will have a lot of the possession. I think it might be quite close in this one because we are at home. It might be about 60-40, but I think Arsenal will be happy, right? You have the possession and we can hit you at the transition, because if we allow Bayern Munich to transition against us, them being a German side under Thomas Tuchel with the players that they've got, if you allow Harry Kane to drop deep to find some space and then smack it into the wings where they've got potentially a Sane, Coleman, Nabry or Musiala can work in those areas, I think that's when they can cause you problems. But with Arsenal, as we've seen already plenty of times, we're happy to sit back. We're happy to try and hit you on the transition and cause problems there. Luke says, I don't understand what the issue is with Bayern. I think they have some outstanding players. Absolutely. King listed a few of them there. But their
As
problem
King
is,
said, they got players, not a
yeah,
team.
but that's it. Their team lacks balance. that's a big thing I've watched. They've scored the most goals in the European top 5 leagues. We're second. I did my research. They've scored 80 goals in their league. Bearing in mind 28 games, so even less games than us. But they are well vulnerable in that midfield. They've had so many issues in there. Pavlovic has come in of late, a young German international now, who's come in there only at 20 years of age, has a lot of experience. They've had problems with Joshua Kimmich, who usually plays in that midfield, but Thomas Tuchel doesn't like him as a stylistic profile because Kimmich isn't great off the ball, out of possession. He's more of a midfielder on the ball. Yep, he's very good in that area, but they've been having a weakness in transition a lot, and he's actually moved him out to right back. But then you look at him in terms of that right back position. If you're coming up against a Martinelli, a Trossard, a Jesus, a 1v1 who's not afraid to take you on, that's another problem that they face themselves. And going back to what I'm talking about with the Man City thing, because you made a great point there in about transition and style make fights. I think what City will do is they'll do something similar than what they did to us. Take out one of their extra attackers in that first leg, maybe in the second, depending on how the game is, and put an extra midfielder in there. But Arsenal still cause City problems. And if that wasn't straight after the international break, that game, I think would have caused them way more problems because Real Madrid will have that sharpness. I think they've played one game since the international break, but we didn't play any. And you could clearly see that the players weren't all in the right shape, really ready to play that sort of a game at that magnitude. But as a team, we still went out there and got the point. We caused them problems. We had opportunities to hit them on the transition. And if you give that to a sharp, fit, firing Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Valverde on the counter-attack, and Modric supplying, Modric and Cruz.
Kill him, yeah.
Kill him in that transition. Crystal Palace had plenty of chances the other day. Yeah. They could have been they could have scored 3 or 4 themselves. And this isn't the Man City of old. This isn't.
But going
about it for a while in terms of that. And yeah, man, that's why I hear it. And then that'll be a massive game in itself. But I agree. How we take this game, how the players manage the occasion. Hopefully, I'm hoping that Saliba has, that Porto leg. Okay, I understand that. Let's move on from that now. Learn from it. The last thing I'll say, and I'll let you in, Wilf, is these young players have showed such a great ability to learn very quickly. You're going to need to do that if you're going to do that for the champs. What was you going to say, my bro?
Well, 2 things. On the Saliba thing, I think the reason why we've noticed it this season is because he's looked human this season. Yeah, he's looked human this season. You know what I mean? Last season, he was like, everybody's going, he's 23, 22, 23, whatever it is, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and he's blah, blah, and he looks human this season. He's still outstanding, but because of the levels that he set last season, to live up to them at his age was nigh on impossible. But I think the Porto game is kind of the best thing that could have happened to this team, in that it gave them a scare. They faced the bright lights. They faced the headlights, and they go, right, okay, we've done that now. We come through that. Now let's just go and play our game. And I think this is, if we had played Bayern instead of Porto, then I think there's a chance that because of that we would have lost. But because they faced that, because they know what Champions League knockout is now, every one of them players has got experience of that now. It's these boys have grown as men over the last 2-3 seasons, yeah. And each game they're growing, and each game they're learning, and each mistake they don't seem to make the same mistakes twice. I genuinely think Bayern Munich and the style that they play, because they play open football, they come to attack, they play expansive football, will suit us, and we will kill them. I genuinely think so. You know, if we take a minimum 2-goal lead back to the Allianz, we're not talking about fighting, we're talking about Bayern, but I think if we take back a 2-goal lead, we win this tie. Yeah, we win this tie. And in answer to Westbird's worries, as fans, we have the luxury of looking past the next game.
The players
so long as the players don't. So long as the players and managers don't, I don't really care. I will look and dream on till we get there. But yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. What was you going to say, King? I see you're itching to say something too.
Yeah, but you could. I think one thing that's massive for us is that we're going into this Bayern game top of the league. I think that confident. I think the run that we have is 10 wins and 1 draw in the past 11 Premier League games.
Yep.
Where we played Brighton, we played Man City, we played Liverpool, we played West Ham away, we played some really, really tough opponents, and we've been
all the way
ruthless. So I think that belief, I think the players now, they believe that we're good enough. And one key thing that we haven't really spoken about is that last season, our first rotation of players were Matt Turner, it was Edin Ketia, it was Reece Nelson, and it was Rob Holding. These players had keys, in our team. If you look at our team this season, and you get like Ramsdale is our second keeper, that is nuts. We got players like Jesus and Trossard and Thomas Partey, Zinchenko. Like these are our squad players now. It's a massive difference in terms of quality, but also experience. And I think it shows. I think when we went on to buy, and that's why you remember when we got Trossard, and I said that I'm happy we got Trossard because I think he's ready now. Whereas with Madrid, I think it's a project thing. I think you can see the fruits now where he comes in, he's ready, he's mature, and he's so composed in front of goals, and he's scored some important winning goals for us. And I'm really looking forward to this next few months, and it's a blessing because for so many years before the season even started, you went into the season and you weren't even looking forward to it. And it's a shame, for such a beautiful club to be in that state. And when you look at your Man Uniteds and you look at your Chelseas, where they are, and you remember the old days, I'm so happy with Arsenal. Honestly, I'm so happy. And I know that even if we don't win anything major this season, it's coming. Because we are that good. We have reached that level where we just keep on improving, where when you set such a high standard, eventually you do win. It's like Man City eventually, because they were so good, they eventually won the Champions League. Liverpool, they were so good, eventually they won the Premier League and the Champions League. So, and we are reaching them levels now, where we're just a wonderful team.
It's a matter of time.
Well, you have to say, I think we have reached that level. It's about maintaining it now because we're in a title challenge with those 2 big clubs, the last 2 big clubs over the last 6-7 seasons. And we've been there. This is our 2nd season up in the clouds amongst them. So for me, we have got to their level. But it's about maintaining it and pushing on and seeing, because this is the thing we always forget as fans. There are only 3 things to go for. Well, 4 things to go for in British football, in English football. You got your League Cup, you got FA Cup, you got League, and you got the Champions League. Not everybody can win everything. Now, last year, City did the clean sweep, and it's only been done once before, and all the rest of it. To be in and amongst those teams and be at the latter stages, because I remember you guys talking about us getting to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and us saying, I've said semi-finals or whatever, and people were laughing at us, going, what are you talking about? We are there now. We are there. This is reality. This is reality.
I went on James Lawrence Hallcott's channel to do the Champions League
Yeah.
draw. I said Arsenal were one of the dark horses alongside Atletico, the two dark horses there. And he said, where do you think Arsenal are going to get to? I said, minimum semi-final. Everyone in the chat clowned me. They said, Arsenal deluded again. You know, like me. I'm not. I try to be level, realistic, pragmatic when I need to, positive when I feel it. Like I genuinely felt from the very beginning that this is a very strong Arsenal team, and we're seeing it. We are genuinely seeing it. I want to ask you all now because
you got even man like Luke believing, is starting to believe.
Bro,
you know what I mean?
Luke, I think Luke said,
it's good time.
Yeah, we was chatting on Twitter, and when Luke said, "Yeah, I believe that we're gonna win," I'm like,
"That's blown me away."
Wrapped up already. It's just
that's scaring me. Now I'm scared because he is. You know what I mean? Because from when man like Luke is starting to believe,
cherish this comment.
You realize that where we are as a team. You know what I mean? Because you can't. We're at the stage now where no matter who, whether you're Jamie Carragher, you're Gary Neville or whatever, you can't dismiss this because you start to look stupid when you start to dismiss.
And you know what the best thing is, Will? Is that Klopp is leaving, and I can't see Pep staying much longer at Man City. I think
his contract expires.
I can. I'll
tell you the reason why. Yeah, the reason why Klopp is leaving is it's stressful to be up there, season in, season out. The Premier League is ruthless. Like, you don't get any spare time for your family. You have to be 100% invested in this. You take just a percentage out and give it more to your private life. And you see what happened last season with Liverpool. You remember the season where Liverpool won the league and City finished so far behind. That's what happened. You have to be so invested. And I think the fact that Man City have started to buy players that Pep don't want shows that they are soon reaching a point where they are ready to move on from him. Because there's a lot of players that are coming into City that are not typical Pep players.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. Because when you remember when before Pep came, his players started to come and his recruitment means started to come. And they were ready for him to take over. And I think the fact that he's won the treble, he's won, 5 out of the last 6 Premier Leagues.
Yep.
He's done it. And he's going to need a new motivation, a new project. And for us, we are at the beginning of our journey where we're just going to get better. And I think he knows that.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you. And I didn't hear them thoughts on that.
I think,
guys,
the thing...
We got just because we're pushing. What was you going to say?
Yeah, I'm just going to say one thing. I think Pep might stick around as Arteta is his new challenge because they're good mates and they talked about football for years. That's the only thing that could make Pep stick around.
Yeah, hey, it is stressful. He had Jurgen Klopp to deal with for how many years? 5 out of his 5 years, 6 years. He's got a new kid on the block with a lot more energy. And a lot more young team as well. We're still the 3rd youngest team in the league.
Young team,
but,
young money.
Guys, speaking of this young team, because we got one more thing to talk about before we get into the questions that you guys have asked. Is what's your lineup? What changes would you make from the Brighton team for this game? We'll start off with you on this one, King. What any changes that you thinking that Arteta or you / Arteta would make?
I think Tomiyasu comes in as left back. I think the back 5, that would be the only change. The midfield is the one that I don't know what he wants to do. Will he bring in Partey into the midfield and play Rice a bit higher up with Odegaard? Will he stick with Jorginho, Rice and Odegaard? Or will he even bring Kai Havertz to the midfield and play Martinelli, Jesus and Saka up top? It's a hard one, but I think it will be in midfield. And I could be wrong. I think it will be Thomas Partey, Rice, Odegaard. I think he will go with that. I think he will want physical players to deal with Goretzka in there. And I think the front three, I wouldn't be surprised if it is Jesus, Havertz, and Saka. And the reason is, I think he will value ball retention against Bayern Munich. I don't think he wants us to lose the ball for a Gnabry, for a Sane in transition. And that's why I think we've started to see Jesus on the wing. I think the long-term plan, he was planning for this Champions League game. And then obviously Havertz up top because of how good he is. And he's going to give Upperman big problems. I think Upperman for me, I always said that I always felt like he was a bit overrated just because of he had someone in Konate beside him who is a unicorn defender for me. I think he's up there with Saliba Konate. I think he's a wonderful defender, whereas Upamecano is more the one who wants to step up, take risk, and he's a bit like Harry Maguire, but a bit faster
Yeah.
and a bit more mobile. But he's in that mold for me, and I think we'll exploit him. I think so. That's why I think he will go with that 11. And I think he would use your Martinellis in the second half when Bayern are a bit more tired, and Martinelli will come in just like he did against Man City with fresh leg and score a goal.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on that? So King thinks that Jesus is going to stay on the left, and then also the Partey comes into midfield with Tomiyasu going in at left back.
Firstly, big up Bargav. Love to see you there. I see what Bargav is saying, but my thing is whether Partey is up to speed for a game like this, because he's still coming back slowly. I see going back to a Saka, Martinelli, Jesus up top. If we were playing there at the Elias, then I would see him go for Havertz more. I think he's going to go for the throat, get it done in the first game, and I think I can see Havertz and Trossard coming on second half, especially if we got a lead, to shore things up but still have that attacking prowess. I think Jesus has to play just because Champions League seems to be the one that gets his blood flowing, man.
I agree with that.
With that, I haven't seen a hell of a lot of Bayern, but what I have seen, I think the Martinelli, Jesus, Saka trio would just kill their back four with Odegaard pulling strings, because it's not like, because remember, this isn't a Premier League game where they know how to play against them. They double up on Martinelli, double up on Saka. I don't think Bayern will be doing that, and Saka and Martinelli will be left one-on-one, because Tuchel, I think he would. I don't think he's right, but I think he will put faith in his back four to handle them one-on-one. I don't see him seeing them as much of a danger as they need to be seen as. I would love to see if Partey is up to speed, then we will go Partey, Rice, Odegaard.
Yeah.
But if not, it will be Jorginho, and probably Jorginho playing in the 8 and Rice playing in the 6, which we did against. Who did we do that against? It was a big game. I think it might have been a Liverpool game that we did that, and that worked because Jorginho he doesn't have to rely on his mobility because he's playing a little further up, like he did with Xhaka last year. I see the back four staying, back five staying as it is, but like you suggested, Tomiyasu, because you said it, Tereak, he's the best one-on-one defender we have. You know, I mean, the man has shackled Ronaldo and he's shackled this man and that man, and I don't see Kane doing enough to get through that. I mean, he might get the odd goal, but you know, I just see us going for it in the first leg because we're at home, trying to get as much of a lead as we can, and then relying on our away form that we've shown for the last 2 seasons, and to hold things there and then catch him, maybe nick another goal on the night over there.
I hear that indeed. I think I lean towards King's team a bit more. I'm trying to think, is there any changes that I've made? The reason being is because Kai Havertz, these are again the intangibles, the form that he's in up against a German team, up against a German side. And I think that Jesus will play as well, because you said it, Wilf, and that's what I was thinking when King was saying it. You said it. The Champions League, that's his competition. That's where he shines.
Even for Man City, he was so vital in the Champions League.
His record is sick. His record is unbelievable in the Champions League.
I think only one of the highest goal scoring Brazilians in the competition. And bearing in mind, there's been some great Brazilians that have played in the competition. So, I think it's made for him there. And my big thing is for Partey, and I think, again, it depends on whether Arteta thinks he's ready. But I think that he's ready because of that Luton game and the 60 minutes that he got in there. I just think that because
I hope so.
Of them being a German team, that German, the German philosophy is transition. That's where they create problems. Klopp, Tuchel, Glasner now at Palace, that's what they want to do. Commit and hurt you in the transition. And I think that's where he'll want that sort of athleticism in there and double up as well. Kind of what Bargav's saying. Do you think it will go the double pivot? Yep, I do think he will, so that we can really protect ourselves and not go overboard within the first leg, win the game, because you don't want to lose it either, especially at home. You don't want to go too gung-ho and then they hit you, because they do have quality, and I'm wary of that.
They do.
They are a very disorganized. That midfield is the area that we should win. No matter who we put in there, that's the area of the pitch that we will win. 100%. And I'm very confident with Arsenal. Any game you want to play us, we'll do it. You dominate, we dominate, however you want to play. And we've got the threats, and we can score in multiple ways.
I liken us to.
Have you noticed something with Tuchel? His teams are usually not very good in midfield.
Exactly.
He relies a lot on the wings, and I think that's why he always struggled against Arteta. Because Arteta wants to dominate centrally. Because Arteta got a very good record against Tuchel, even when we were poor. Remember when we beat them 3-1 and Xhaka scored the free kick.
That was Lampard. But we beat them later on in that season 1-0 at Stamford Bridge with Emile Smith-Rowe and Kai Havertz a big chance of it. So you are right. You are absolutely right. And the only time that they did beat us with Tuchel was when we had loads of those players out with COVID at the second game of the season. And where did their goals come from? Out wide.
Out wide. I think with James put in
the
and then the cross into Lukaku when he spun Pablo Mari. My word, Pablo Mari. You see
how far we've gone from your to Pablo Mari. Oh my God!
Don't be swearing with the M word, man. Don't be swearing with the M word. I swear to God, I will come through that door and slap you. I swear to God.
But this is where you have to praise Arteta. Every year he buys quality defenders. Like every year since he's joined us, he's been so focused on defense.
That's the foundation of the team.
This is the important thing. If Partey is fit enough with that double pivot, what he has over Jorginho, and don't get me wrong, Jorginho has been outstanding this season. Absolutely, Partey can play a killer ball. And Rice can drive with that ball. And it's when you're talking about that midfield, what Partey gives you ahead of Jorginho is he can drive with the ball, and you saw it on the weekend, that little pass that set up that helped set up Emile Smith-Rowe's shot on target in the Brighton game. Not the Brighton game, the Luton game. Was it Luton? Yeah. That was the one Smith-Rowe played, right? Yeah. And I just the little pass, the little disguised pass. He reminds me of Kanu in that respect, in how he disguises his pass. him and Rice, if he is fit enough, even if we got an hour out of him and then brought on Jorginho, I think we could have that game killed in that hour. And then we start thinking about, okay, and then like you said, with the bench that we got, then you can bring on the Havertz, then you can bring on Jorginho, who will shore things up, but still be able to hit them in that transition, because they're going to have to come to try and get something out of the game.
Absolutely. And here's the little bit of nugget, guys. Here's the little takeaway from the Brighton game. That was a hint. This is the hint to why Jorginho played the full 90. Jorginho, when's the last time we've seen him play, couple games in a week in a row? Not really too much. And then if he does, he comes off quite early. If we do start him in games in short succession, just because we know he's been managing an injury and the point he's at in his career right now. And he didn't bring on Thomas Partey. Bearing in mind, it's not a lack of trust or anything like that, unless there's an injury that he's managing, and I hope not. But because he brought him on for the game at Man City, starting him against Luton, played him for 60, took him off. Seems like he wrapped him in cotton wool. And it was interesting because looking at the substitutions that he's made, I think it's quite a bit of a hint in terms of what he's going to do. Taking off Havertz as well, showing that. Bringing on Eddie.
Taking off Jesus.
Taking off Jesus.
Martinelli.
And had Martinelli on the bench again. But where did he put him on? He's not, because he put him on the right. He's not going to start.
That's why I think Jesus will start on the left. That's why I think it's a game plan, because I think that he knows how deadly Bayern can be on the counter, regardless of the structure of the team. When you have someone like a Hurricane who can ping a pass to a Sane or to a Musiala or to a Gnabry, you don't want to lose the ball. And Jesus is so good on retaining the ball and taking on defenders one-on-one. I think that's why we've seen him more as a winger lately, rather than him playing through the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
100%.
Westberg made a very good point here with the way he's managing 100%. Players. And it goes back to, again, the whole thing about not listening to the noise outside of the room, because what we learned, the biggest thing that we learned from last season is there's two things really. One is managing the season, as in staying in the league contention up to after Christmas and then go for it. Whereas last season we blasted out from the beginning, and the improvement that we've made off the ball. Because we know we could score goals, we know we could going forward, but it's our improvement off the ball that has taken us to the next level, and that's down to Arteta. He saw our frailties, he saw our weaknesses, and he shored them up. And it was mainly off the ball. So we stopped giving away the stupid goals. When we've managed to hold dark arts a little better. When a team is in transition, we go into, you said it, we go into that low block. We're compact, but we spring out of that really, really rapidly. Raya is a prime example of that. If we can do that against Bayern, and especially if we can do that with Partey and Rice, because both of them can be explosive. I think Mr. Westberg said it. Partey's range of passing and Rice's explosivity going forward is what could be key in this game to giving us the advantage. And I really think if we go over there with any kind of more than one goal advantage, I think the tie is done.
Absolutely.
Because Bayern would have to come at us so hard and we would just hit them in that transition.
Exactly.
You know what's crazy, guys? we're so good, and we're not even speaking about Odegaard. We're not even speaking about
I
Saka.
know.
That's how far
I
the
know.
You
team
know what I
has come.
mean?
Yeah,
For real. It felt like
I had that
we
written
couldn't win a
down. I had
game.
that written down.
We couldn't win a
I had
game
that
without
written down.
Saka. We couldn't,
Yeah.
if Saka's not performing, Arsenal don't win. If Odegaard has been outstanding this year, this turn of the, to be honest, since December, it's a joke
he's
how
great.
good he's been.
But
Yeah,
the biggest thing about
world
it
class.
is
Yeah.
from game to game, it's a different man that is stepping up. Even though Havertz has been, Odegaard has been class since December. One game is Havertz. Who you got manager Havertz? Then there's Rice. Then there's Odegaard. Then there's Saka. Then there's Martinelli or whoever. It's different man in each game that stand out. Whereas last season it was basically Odegaard, Martinelli, and Saka. If them three weren't showing up, we were done.
Yeah.
Now teams can't.
You could tell in the first 10 minutes if we were gonna win or not.
Yeah. Now teams can't go, right, we shut down Martin Odegaard and they got none. Because Havertz will step up, or Saka will step up, or someone. We shut down, we shut down their wide players. Right, they ain't got nothing now. That's when it leaves space for Odegaard and Rice and all these men. Rice has got his best scoring record in the Premier League this season. You know what I mean? He's up there with Rodri. He is one of right, you guys know football better than me across Europe, but he's got to be in the top 3, top 5 best midfielders in Europe, and they say the world at this moment in time.
I think probably 3 of them are in the Premier League in Rice, McAllister this season.
Right.
But speaking, you mentioned about, in terms of last season. Do you know who the team is that looks like us at this stage last season? It's Liverpool. They're the ones who I watched it today. In the opening minutes, Man United didn't get a shot in that first half.
Yeah.
I looked at
didn't get a single shot.
No, not a single shot. But they look so vulnerable defensively. How they just allow teams to go against them and, allow them to get shots themselves. But they trust that their goalkeeper and their attack will just outscore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous game to play when the pressure is up at this stage of the season. I think it's, again, like, to get to this stage of the season with Liverpool, with that team, where we know they've got clear deficiencies. We know in that midfield they kind of lack a little bit of that top quality, Declan Rice,
injuries
Rodri, all those injuries. It's outstanding the job that they've done, and it has been on fumes, a bit like us again last season. All off of emotion. We rolled and got there, and we was up to a ridiculous level. But when the pressure starts to tell, when you are playing Kwanzaa and Connor Bradley, who don't have 30 Premier League games under their belt, a full season under their belt, in a title race, in games that matter the most, and you are letting opponents have this little bit of joy against you, especially away from home, it's not a good look. That's why I think Liverpool are the ones who are going to continue to drop points. But it's a question, do Man City decide to fix up defensively? I don't think they will. So I think that they will probably drop one more game at the most, because they're still good enough going forward. Because look at how Man City played Man United in both games. They controlled the game still. They still limited, after the first opening minutes, they limited Man United's threat going forward. Liverpool never looked like they could do that. It always felt like Man United, no matter how poor they were in the game, if you hang on in there, you will cause them problems.
I was bases in the middle of the park all the time. It was crazy. And I gotta admit to something. At the start of the season, I thought Szoboszlai was gonna be one of the players of the season.
And it was towards the beginning.
Yeah, he was, but his level has dropped so much, and you can see why Liverpool are struggling so much. I'm surprised that Elliot didn't start.
First seasonitis.
Yeah, it is, and I agree. They do remind me of us last season, where they rely so much on the attack to bail them out, but the defensive structure is not really there. And when you face teams who are fighting relegation, who are playing for something, who want to get Europe, or these derbies, these emotional games, you do drop points like we did against West Ham and Southampton, where you are supposed to kill them off with the amount of chances that you get, but because you don't got that defensive stability like we did, like we saw against Brighton, where we were missing chances in the beginning, but because we were so good in defense, eventually we can win the game. With Liverpool, you always got a shot to get in, and you can't always. You remember last season we were like the best team from losing points to win games.
Yeah.
That's all
Forgot
good in
about
the
that
beginning
stat.
of the season.
Yeah.
You remember that stat, but at the end of the season, a win can turn to a draw can turn to a loss, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
the title is just
It's just
going
slipping
away
away.
from you,
Slipping away.
going away,
And the
going
pressure.
away, and
I was
the
watching
pressure. You could see,
yeah.
Klopp was rattled. He was all over the place. You could see the players; they were
Screaming,
nervous.
shouting.
Conor Brandon was right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were. They
someone
were.
said in the chat earlier that Klopp was shouting at his players. You never seen
And
Klopp shout at his players. And I was
and
watching
they
the
lacked
Liverpool.
leadership.
Yeah.
I know you're a very big fan of Van Dijk, and I think he's had a fantastic career. But I think today he was just backing up from the attack. He wasn't the leader that they needed. And
We can't keep
these are
doing
the
that. We
games.
can't keep doing that game for
I
game.
hear it. I do hear what you're saying, because in terms of him, like, you want him to be, a bit what Gabriel's doing, get in, stop it, nip it in the bud at the beginning. But because of how
Yeah,
he defends and how he's
yeah,
like, I will manage my situation, but then that allows the flood coming from
yeah,
other side.
Yeah.
You want to try and nip that in early. They miss Konate today, definitely, because
yeah,
he's the one that does that. He's got
yeah,
because I will back myself athletically against you. You're not ever going to sprint past me, because if you do, I've
no,
got the recovery. Whereas you never sprint past Van Dijk, because he just constantly go, okay, keep coming,
yeah,
and then I'll decide in the last action. But if they make that pass and they
yeah,
execute that pass correctly, it's curtains, because no one else is as good
Yeah.
as you, Van Dijk. That's why.
Yeah, and I was watching the game the first half with a Liverpool fan, and I kept saying, I've got a feeling you lot are gonna rue the amount of missed chances that you get, because they should have been 4-5
minute.
clear.
The
They should
first
have been
minute.
4 clear, yeah.
Who should have
And I
scored the
just
first
went,
goal, Wilf?
yeah.
It should have been Man
yeah.
United.
I kept thinking they're gonna rue this, and now I realize why I was saying that, because that was us last season. Right? It was like, if we didn't get that goal, or we didn't get that second goal,
We don't take our chances.
we don't take our chances. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were doing that. And when by the time I got back home and saw that, like, Man United were winning 2-1, I mean, obviously as an Arsenal fan, I'm cheering, but I wasn't surprised. I knew they were gonna, because the whole time I was thinking, oh my God, I can't remember the last time that I saw a Man United side with the least possession. It was like 70-30 possession to Liverpool, and not a single shot at Old Trafford. Are you nuts?
Exactly.
And I was thinking, even with Ten Hag, as bad as he is and all the rest of it, there is no way he's sending them out there second half and playing like that against Liverpool. Had it been, I don't know, a West Ham, no disrespect, or Brighton or whatever, you could see them coming out, because you saw them do it the other time. Because it's not a big name team, you could see them coming out and doing what happened with the Brentford. But this is Liverpool. This is their arch rivals. There was no way they were going to come out second half and not give it a goal. And what Granddaddy Gouda said is we'll come back to that, but that I agree with him on that one. It's the Chelsea that worries me the most in our running.
Chelsea, who drew to Sheffield United and Burnley.
I tell you why.
Yeah.
Because look at Chelsea's results and look at what their best performance is. Where have they come? Against the top 6. Against Tottenham.
Yeah, but
against
What
Man
about
City.
Liverpool?
I'll tell you this, Will.
I know, but to draw against us?
Chelsea's defense will not be able, and their midfield will not be able to handle us. They won't.
What I'm saying to you, I just
at home.
I just fear them because they seem to turn up for the big games, like Man United do. Of those teams, I fear a banana skin against Chelsea. I don't think we will, but I fear it because of that 2-2 that we had against them. You know what I mean?
Again, I think that's more on us, so Will, for that 2-2. That's not them.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, because look at the goals.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the mistake. We nearly gave them more. The goals that they scored was a penalty, and then David Raya got lobbed over Woodley. Again, we didn't manage that game properly.
We didn't handle the transition well in that game.
Exactly.
I believe we can do it. That's the one I worry about because they turn up.
But trust me, Chelsea, 2-2 with Burnley and 2-2 with Sheffield United. 10 men Burnley, by the way.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying to you. That Chelsea team cannot play against, like, the top 6 teams play how they're coached to play against. You know what I mean? But
4-0 against Liverpool.
Burnley's, I know.
4-1.
I know. Oh yeah. No. I'm not.
And that was an injury hit.
Don't get me wrong. I'm. You know what? More than probably equal to us winning the title. I love seeing this Chelsea team disintegrate. But what I'm saying to you is as a team, as a unit, they're with the players that they got, they're big time Charlies. So the big games, they're like, I want to play for this. I'm up for this. I don't think they will. I think we will manage that game better than we did than the 2-2. But of the Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, the one I'm more concerned about us dropping points in is the Chelsea game, because I think we can tear the living daylights out of Man United. If we had the first half that Liverpool had, we'd have got him 4-0. I think with Tottenham, their style of play suits us. They're high line and Ange playing the way he is, and with the defense, how solid our defense is now, I think we can take them at the Armitage Shanks. It's Chelsea is the one that I'm concerned about, because they can be that. You know. Again, is I know.
Do you know what I think will happen?
Yeah.
I think we win the league on 90 points. I think we will draw with Spurs.
Yeah.
I think City will draw with Spurs, and I think Liverpool will lose or draw a couple of more games. I think we will end on 90. City will end on 89, and Liverpool will end on 84, 85.
I agree.
I can see Spurs beating City.
Yeah, it can happen, but I
think with the remaining 7 games, we'll win 6 and draw 1.
Yeah,
I think it'll be
Spurs
if we do that, we win the title.
If we do that,
we win the title.
Right. Do you know why? Because Luke said it here. When we play Chelsea midweek before they play City in the FA Cup, they're not going to be wanting to. With the injury crisis that they've been having, they're not going to be wanting to.
Point,
is it before the? Is it after? It's after, isn't it? I'm sure it's after, actually, because we play. It's on the 20th of April.
It's been moved.
No. So
it was moved, so maybe it is before.
It's after. So I'm thinking that FA Cup game will take a lot out of them anyway. Whereas, regardless, even it's before or after, it's going to take a lot out of them. And I just think that with the Tottenham game, they've got 15 days rest going into it. We play 4 games.
We play Chelsea on the 23rd of April.
So 3 days after, three days after they play their semi-final against Man City.
Right.
That Tottenham game is 15 days Tottenham have off. We have 4 games in that space of time, potentially.
But do you think that could be like after the international break for Tottenham, where it's too long, instead of having a week rest? Now 2 weeks, and
in terms of
sharpness,
it's momentum versus rest,
where we will be fresh in that momentum for the derby.
It's true. I hear it. That's a good point. In terms of sharpness, it's a little bit different, whereas we've got that sharpness because I think Bernardo Silva says it. At this time of the season, I love playing every 3 days because it comes. You just keep ticking. You make your changes. Everyone's playing games. Everyone has a part to play.
And all 3 of us have played, and we know what it's like when the rush sets in very quickly when you haven't played. If you're in form, keeping that sharpness is very difficult if there's a big gap between games. Because I know for me, whenever I've played, I've always wanted to play the next day after I've had a good game, because the feel's still in my ball, the muscle memory is still there, and they've still got people that are borderline injury. Maddison just coming back, getting his form. If he goes another 15 days because he's had a long time out, is he going to be able to get the rhythm going, get the legs going, get the flow going?
I hear it. Yeah, he says their problem was scoring goals. Yeah, it was, but we don't let teams create chances against us, and they can't keep the back door shut.
Yeah.
They can't keep it back door shut against 10 men Burnley.
Yeah.
Do you know what the weakest part of Chelsea is as well? Mr. 200 and everyone. They can't defend set pieces.
No, God, no.
Yeah,
and you can run the same set pieces. My boys under 13
they struggle in transition. So when you transition against Chelsea, they struggle a lot. And that's why Caicedo and Enzo have been caught on the ball many times. Disasi has been caught on the ball. We saw today Thiago Silva caught on the ball. It's a problem for them. I think the way we would press them.
If you keep Cole Palmer quiet, that's it. They're done.
Yeah, he's their star man, and he's their star man. I do like Nicholas Jackson as well, by the way. I do like him.
He'll come good. Chaos merchant.
He's come good. Isn't he Senegalese?
Yeah, he was born in Gambia. That's why the name. But I think his mom is from Senegal, and that's why he chose to play for them. But he was born in Gambia. There ain't no Nicholas Jackson in Senegal, I can tell you that.
Yeah, true. That's not true. Very true. And Westburn, Wolves, it could be famous last words, just like Chelsea with me, King. But famous with Wolves, they're in an injury crisis at the moment. They're nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the end of the day, it's Premier League. No easy games. There's no easy games. Of course not. If we win 7 and draw 1, that's the league.
Yeah,
it's 7 games left. I think we win 6 and draw 1. That's my prediction.
Whether we win the title or not, which I believe we will, I think we played the best football over we've been the best team over the season.
Absolutely.
100%.
Hopefully we can tie that up with a trophy. But all right, I tell you what, most consistent team over the course of the season.
I think we were just unlucky against West Ham. It was one of them games where we did everything right. We couldn't score.
Yeah.
I think, imagine if we won that game and we would be 3 points clear of Liverpool and 4 points clear of City.
Fulham is a blip. Everybody has a blip in the season. Fulham was
The Fulham game, it can happen. We were just not good. In that game, it can happen.
The first Fulham game was the problem for me, King. The second one, we were just awful.
That one.
It's the one game where I can easily say we deserve to lose. That's the one game this season I can say we deserve.
100%.
Whereas
100%.
the first one, that was awful. The mistake at the very beginning. That was Arsenal of last season, at the very beginning of the season.
It was.
Yeah. The mistake, having so many chances.
And also the West Ham game. Yeah, the West Ham game at that time.
The West Ham we were unlucky. I think we were so good against them.
Creating that many chances, you bound.
I don't understand how we lost 2-0. It was just one of them 3 games.
This is what I mean.
I think we were unlucky against them.
Look at their results. If you look at their results, they were doing that to a lot of teams at that time, getting them on the transition and getting that banging in that odd goal.
They've got to play West Ham still got to play Man City and Liverpool. But let me just get into your questions now, guys, as we wrap up. I said it about half an hour ago. But you know how we are.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Wesbird asked in terms of Zinchenko, do you think whether we keep him or sell him, it will depend on whether we win the league or not in regards to Zinchenko?
Very good question.
Do you think if we win the league, we'd be more likely to sell him?
I think, for me, in regards to Zinchenko, I think it will go down to interest So depending on who comes for him, on what they're willing to pay, I think regardless if we win or not win any title, we will be open to listen to offers. But we are far from desperate to let him go just because we lack numbers in defense. We're still gonna regardless. Right now, we need to buy another defender. If we sell him, we're gonna need to buy two. So that's why I think it's one of them where, let's say, I don't know, let's say PSG come in with a 40 million bid or 50 million bid. Yeah, I think we're selling. But if it's one of them 20 or 30 million, I think we turn it down.
No, I think it depends on when if we win the league, we're more amenable to selling him. If we win the league, he may want a new challenge, whatever. I mean, I don't think him and Jesus want to leave without winning a title or big title with us. And if they do, then they're willing to look for another. I'm not saying they will go or they want to go, but they'll be more up for going if they get a fifth title and with a second team for the Premier League. But yeah, it depends on whether we win the league or not. If we win it, I could see him going. If we don't, I see him staying.
I hear that. Two more questions. Would you guys prefer to play this home game second? Yes. And yes and no. Do you know what? I'm going to say no, just because I think the obvious answer is yes. The reason why is because if we can do what you said, Wilf, and wrap it up in this first leg, I think of how Man City did it against Bayern Munich last season. They won 3-0, I believe. It was 3-0 in the first leg, wasn't it? That allowed them to rotate in the second leg and allowed them to say, because I believe we're at that level now where we can rotate and still have a decent level. And we can still at least defend whoever we rotate with. So I think that's what it'll allow us. I think that sort of win in the first leg will allow us to do. So therefore, when we go to the second leg, we don't need to take risks with players that are in that sort of red zone. So let's say a Saka, for example, we don't need to start him. We don't need to start a Jorginho. Get them rested, get them in the squad if you want, and then have them for the second leg, for the away game against Wolves on the Saturday. What's your guys' thoughts on that approach?
Exactly as yours. I was thinking, I was exactly as yours. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking at first, and I saw that question earlier. I was thinking, I'd have liked to have the second leg, but no. Now that it's here, I like the fact that we've got the first leg. Do what we need to do, get the job done, go over there, see what they got.
Think of the Porto game just before you get your thoughts on this, King.
Yeah,
if we would have had Porto at home first, that second leg wouldn't have played out like that because if we'd have went 1-0 with a 1-0 lead going into Porto, a bit more of an open game, which would have suited us. Whereas Porto was a very good.
Yeah, I think now that the away goal rule is gone, I think it's better to start at home, whereas before it was better to start away, because the thing is, before, if you start at home first and you win 2-1, it's almost like you've drawn that game. Because if you then go away and then they beat you 1-0, then they go through. Whereas now, that's not the case. So I think for that fact and the fact that we will have the full house of Arsenal fans, and where the momentum we have now, I like the fact that we start at home first, because Bayern are fragile. If we beat them well, they won't mentally be up for the second game.
Exactly. Very true. Good point that is about their fragility mentally. They're in such a precarious position. If they lose 3-1, 2-0, whatever, that feels like it's almost done for them. And because
kind of remind us of us back in the days where we had individual good players, so like Aziz and Sanchez and Ramsey, but we didn't have a team. And at this part of the season, the league was already over.
Yeah, exactly that. And they've got even more pressure than we do on the Champions League, and that's crazy to say.
That's the only thing they can. That's the only thing they can go for. It's the only thing they can go for. So a bad result, bad first result, like you said, that's it for them.
Exactly. And the last question is, how do you feel about Arteta keep bringing on Eddie Nketiah for Havertz rather than maybe Jesus up front and still bringing in Trossard? The reason I'm asking this question because I want to hear your thoughts on Eddie Nketiah, Wilf, because it seems like we have transitioned past him now. I know you've been a big fan.
I hate you people. I hate you people.
It does.
I hate every one of you. I've never come on the show again. And why of the all questions? Westberg, if you weren't the Queen of Darkness, I'd say cuss you too, but I love you, girl. Listen, you know what? Bringing on Eddie for Havertz is actually a good thing because imagine you bring on Jesus and he gets injured, then and all the rest of it. I think, yeah, eventually we were going to move past Eddie. I was hoping we never would. I hope he would step up, but it is what it is. We've got a squad. We've got to use them. Yeah. Eddie comes on and does a job. And the one thing that I love about him is he's never thrown his toys out the pram. You never seen him come and I will about my minutes and about this and the other.
Oh, he cut out. Just like how Eddie Nketiah is going to cut out.
Yeah, right. I would love, I would, yeah. Hey. Man, yourself,
I can't lie.
I would love,
It does frustrate me.
I would love Eddie to, no, I know he does. It frustrates everybody. I would love him to leave with a title. And I respect him because he's come on. He's done what's asked of him. Same like Reece Nelson. They've come on. They've been disciplined. They've done what the team needed rather than putting themselves in the shop window. And you know, I don't have a problem. I actually at this stage I would prefer Eddie coming on for Havertz or Eddie because they come in. He's come in when games are dead, or we're just holding on to something, and it's no danger. We're not chasing a game. So I would prefer to have him come on, save Jesus, save Havertz.
Mr. W says that he's got a point here. I wouldn't throw my toys out of a for 100k a week either.
That's funny.
King, what about you?
I think it's two main things. I think one of the reasons why is because Arteta want to play Jesus on the wing at the last part of the season. And I think the second thing is the injuries. So we know that Saka plays with a knock, so Martinelli is playing more on the right side. We know that Jesus has struggled with injury, so he's playing more on the wing. And we know that Eddie, with his attitude, and if we want to sell him, we still got to give him minutes. It's going to be very hard for us to get what we want from him.
Yeah.
If he's not playing at all, you know, that's not a situation we want to find ourselves in. So the fact that he still is getting his minutes and keeping his value up, it will be easier for us to sell him. And, you know, come the summer, let's say we do win the title, he will leave as someone who had played a certain number of
20,
games.
It's true. 20 or so games in the title winning
team. In the title winning team. That will be something his agent is going to be able to use to get him a good move. So it's the whole picture as well. I know a lot of people are
especially when he comes on and scores the winner in the Champions League. Especially when he comes on and scores the winner in the Champions League.
That would be amazing. But I think Eddie himself is at a stage when he now is going to want to leave Arsenal because he's seen how close he's been to get into that England squad.
Yeah.
And he's going to realize that if he wants to be an England international, he's going to have to start week in and week out. And that's never going to be the case at Arsenal. Absolutely. Love the kid, love his attitude. Would be so fun for him to leave with a trophy, but really, truly, we have evolved from him.
Yeah, I get exactly. I hear it, guys. Yeah. It's so true. And if we do win, and he gets a medal to take with him. It will be deserved, much more deserved than Ryan Brewster than when he got his Champions League medal, because he scored in the Champions League. But guys, we are going to wrap this up now. So I really do appreciate everyone that's tuned in here tonight. 2 hours and 40 minutes nearly we've done this stream for, but it's the Arsenal show. It wouldn't be any different. We spoke about 2 games, the one that we've just played, the one that we've just we're going to face ahead on Tuesday. But I appreciate you all guys in the chat, but I also appreciate my amazing guests. Not guests. Forget that. Sorry for calling you guests. I apologize. We do. Do you call your family members guests now? Come around your house, isn't it? Do you call your families? My amazing hosts. Yeah, it's their house just as much as it's mine. They walk in the fridge like it's theirs. This is what the Tereak Talks family is. Some of you, of course, you're still working your way around things. You have to ask, I have to ask you, do you need a drink? Do I ask these guys if they need a drink? No. You know where the kitchen is. You know where I keep the squash. Come on. Yeah, but hey, big up to my brothers, man, each and every time. Wilf, we'll start off with you, my man. You were the first one in here. We got you back for the first time in ages on the channel. My brother, appreciate you for coming on, my man. Let the people know where they can find you, and if you got any words for the content.
You can find me on X. It's cream_bone.
You seen so long, you had to think about it then.
I know I did. It's my daughter set up for me. So, and you will see me on here a bit more regular. And I love you guys. I've missed you so much. I missed the TTF. And listen, I'm putting out my hot takes. I did it at the beginning of the season. Man City finished 3rd. We're gonna do the double with the league and the Champions League, and I'm gonna die on that hill. And that's all I can say. And big up to everybody in the chat. I love you. Bless you. The Wezzes, Luke. All the people in there, I'm Casey, all them man, the bar guy.
You're doing what I'm doing. When I start naming names, I always forget someone. So
I know. That's why I'm not gonna. Mr. 200. Anybody that I've missed.
I hate when I start doing
tuning in later. Because everybody that's gonna be tuning in later, David, Will Gibson, Will's a Canadian brother. He's been following the show for a while actually. And I got to meet him for the first time. He's a big gooner. He writes some wicked articles on Facebook about Arsenal. But my boy Torin, he's in America with his dad at the moment, and but he's going to be tuning in. And just love for the love, man. I'm glad to be back, and I will be a regular again.
That's what I love to hear, my brother Will, aka Trev, aka CB60. All the names, people. and last but not least, we've got my brother King as well. It's a pleasure to see you as well, my brother King. And man, and during Ramadan too. So how long is it you got left of Ramadan now?
2 or 3 days left.
Is it
depending
2 or 3?
on when they see the sunrise. Yeah. Hey. We're almost there, bro. We're almost there, and it's always a pleasure to do streams with you guys. I thought Will had become a pensioner now that he's 107, so I wasn't sure we were going to see him again. But fair play, old man. Happy to see you. Big up to the chat, to the community. Always show us love and support. And big up to you, T. I see the moves you're doing. Your channel is still growing. So happy for you, bro. And more than anything, hopefully we leave this season with some silverware. I'm excited, guys. End of season and we up there for the league, for the Champions League. It's a blessing. Big up to everyone, and thank you for supporting us all.
I appreciate you.
And T-Money, I forgot to thank you for the platform, bro. Without you, this don't happen. So.
Each and every time, my man, Dave. You've been day ones. I met Will through Harry's community. I met King through Tom's. And look at what we were able to do just through great Arsenal, other content creators and great communities that we've been able to get along with as well. So, man. And what I'll look to do, guys, because I've enjoyed this so much and enjoyed seeing the regulars back here in the chat, the regular gooners, and the non-Arsenal fans in here too. Casey was in here winding us up a lot. Everyone else, we do appreciate it. I will look to try and do this on a more regular basis, getting in touch with Wilf and King, seeing when we can work something out together. But then also, if we can have a guest on as well, that us three can feel at home. And, we'll give him the welcome and a little bit of thumping sometimes and a brotherly love. That's what we need to do. But, man. So, hopefully make this more of a regular thing. And I'm sure we'll be celebrating together anyway.
Believe.
And hopefully in May, we'll be together. We could maybe do something in person then. You know what I mean?
I'm going to need to book a ticket to London if in May, man.
Exactly.
Honestly,
King, you have
I'm
to
not missing the party.
I haven't been back. I haven't done the tour with Overpass since '98. So I'd love to do that again, man. See the Champions League go fast.
Absolutely. That's what we're doing, Mr. W.
100%.
Well, I want to meet.
We'll host the vote, so it's fine.
Yeah.
No issues.
100%.
Exactly. Tell me about it. Love to you all, my people. Enjoy the start to your Monday. Arsenal are on top of the league. And then just think, when you wake up on Monday, it's only one more sleep until we play in the Champions League as well, guys. Take care all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and the week ahead. And we're out of here. And we'll be back again, of course, in the week. So take care. I'm not sure whether I'm doing a watch along yet, so don't hold me on that. But I might do. But take care all. We're out. Peace.